Back at the Oakland Alameda County Stadium in Oakland, California. To repeat the weather, it is excellent. Temperature about 50. The wind is not a factor. The field primarily is in excellent shape. There is a space between the 35-yard lines that has been resodded. But we understand the sodding is firm. The footing should be good. Now let's talk about those Kansas City varied offenses and Darryl LaMonica's passing in the powerful offense of the Oakland Raiders. Plus, what kind of defenses will they use today for this, the 10th annual American Football League title game? Here is George Radaman.
Jim, when we think about the Kansas City offense, why we're somewhat attracted by some of the unusual features that they show in their offensive formations. First of all, they run from a variety of formations. You can't type them and say they always line up this way or that way. They're liable to line up just about any way you can space 11 men out on a football field. In addition, they disguise their offensive formations well. That is, they don't come out of the huddle and immediately go to the formation from which they're going to run. They come out and usually line up in what is called the I, with Lenny Dawson, the quarterback, directly behind the center, the tight end behind him, and then the two running backs behind the tight end. So they're all lined up in an I. They will shift from there to a variety of offensive sets, or occasionally they will run right from the I. So they disguise these formations that they're going to line up in very well. Now, even though they have an unusual variety of offensive formations, they run what you might call a ball control attack. They're not wild at all in their offensive plays. Once they get underway, they like to control the ball, run it carefully down the field. Lenny Dawson, their quarterback, is excellent at running this type of offense. You might regard him, if you're going to draw a comparison, say, with baseball, with the batting champion. He's a percentage type hitter or percentage type quarterback. Doesn't go for the bomb too often, but likes to run this varied offense, likes to control the ball as much as possible. Of course, running the ball, they have three very fine backs, two of whom are really breakaway runners, Mike Garrett and Warren McVeigh, and then Robert Holmes, who is more of the plug horse type, you might say, picks up the short yardage for them. An unusual feature, none of these backs are over 5'10". All three of them are very short. On defense, Kansas City has led the league. This year, you mentioned before, they held the New York Jets without a touchdown, and that's some indication of how strong they are, and even more indicative, you may recall in that game, the New York Jets had a first down on the Kansas City 1-yard line and still could not punch it into the end zone. So that's just an indication of how strong the Kansas City defense is. They have a good line, three great linebackers in Bell, Lanier, and Lynch. They're as good as any team or any linebackers on any team in professional football. Bobby Bell is really a treat to watch because he's not only good against the running plays, but he has tremendous speed, very good at covering the backs who come out of the opposing team's backfield trying to catch passes. Johnny Robinson, the veteran safety man, is a steadying influence in their secondary. They were considered to be a little bit weak going in this year at the cornerback situation, so their number one draft choice was Jim Marcellus, and he has certainly come through for them in great fashion. So they're good on offense, good on defense, and the third facet of their game, they have the best fellow available in Jan Stenerud, their kicker. If they get within field goal range, he is considered the best field goal kicker in professional football today.
Now let us talk about the starting lineups, and we'll repeat them again as the teams take the field. But first of all, for Kansas City, the visitors here today, wide receiver number 25, Frank Pitts, 6'2", 199, 25 years old, and his fifth year from Southern University. At left tackle, Big Jim Tyrer of Ohio State, 6'6", 270 pounds, in his ninth year from Newark, Ohio. At left guard, the former All-American from Michigan State, Ed Buddy from Detroit, in his seventh year, 6'5", 260 pounds. E.J. Hollip, at one time a linebacker, now the center for Kansas City, from Texas Tech in his ninth year, 6'4", 236. At right guard, Mo Moorman, 6'5", 252, second year from Texas A&M. At right tackle, Dave Hill, 6'5", 260, seventh year from Auburn. And at tight end, Fred Arbanis of Michigan State in his eighth year. And Arbanis has been lined up in the I in the backfield, has been used as a tight end, and is listed as the second string offensive left and right tackles. At quarterback, and we told you that he's never felt better since his knee injury, Len Dawson in his 13th year. He's from Purdue, completing 59% of his passes. At running backs, the former Heisman Trophy winner, Mike Garrett, 5'9", 190 from Southern California. And Bobby Holmes, number 45, in his second year from Southern University. The wide receiver, another all-league selection, Otis Taylor, from Prairie View in his 5th year. That is the offensive lineup for Kansas City. The offensive lineup for Oakland, and we'll give you the defenses as those teams take the field. Wide receiver Warren Wells, who suffered a shoulder separation weeks back, will play, will not start, we understand. He leads the league, both leagues, in touchdown passes caught with 4 teams. So Rod Sherman, who caught 4 passes for 2 touchdowns in the playoff game with Houston, a 3rd-year veteran from USC, will start at wide receiver. Left tackle, Bob Swias, 6'4", 245, 5th year from Southern Cal. Left guard, the great Eugene Upshaw from Texas A&I in his 3rd year. Jim Otto, the 10-year veteran from the University of Miami, is at center. Jim Harvey, 6'5", 250, the right guard from Mississippi in his 4th year. At right tackle, Harry Shue, 5th year from Memphis State, 6'3", 260. And at tight end, another Heisman Trophy winner, 6'1", 215, in his 10th year from LSU, Billy Cannon. At quarterback, Darryl LaMonica, 34 touchdown passes, 7-year veteran from Notre Dame. The running back, Charlie Smith, 2nd-year man from Utah, 6'1", 205. The fullback, and he's been hurt but is considered to be all right, Hewart Dixon, former tight end, 7-year veteran from Florida A&M, 6'1", 230. And another wide receiver in the backfield, Fred Biletnikoff, 54 catches, 12 touchdowns, 5-year veteran, the All-American from Florida State. We are moments away from the 10th annual American Football League title game, the final one. Mel Torme stands to the microphone, and now we have the playing of the national anthem.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad streams and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, now we come to the fact that the 10th annual American Football League game is about to be played. There's been a lot of talk. Oakland, the best team in the American Football League. Nonsense, say others. Kansas City is the best team in the American Football League. Well, we'll find out this afternoon at least who gets the chance to go on to the Super Bowl and play the Minnesota Vikings, because this is the final championship game of the league, and 2 of the most successful teams in the history of the league, including the most successful, the winningest team in the 10-year history of the American Football League, Kansas City, which this afternoon finds itself the underdogs. Kansas City has won the toss and elected to receive to our left. Mike Eyeshide will kick off. Bobby Holmes and Wendell Hayes go near the goal line to our left to take the kickoff. Kansas City, the red helmets and pants, white numerals, Oakland in its silver and gray outfits. The wind definitely is a factor now on the field as Eyeshide tees up the football. And the crowd in the county stadium of Oakland Alameda begins to rise to its feet for the kickoff. Eyeshide approaches the football, and the ball game is underway. Bobby Holmes comes out to the 4, across the 10, running up the center of the field, across the 20, cuts back to the 25, and gets out to about the 29-yard line, where it'll be 1st and 10 for Kansas City. Now again, the Kansas City starting offensive lineup. Wide receiver, Frank Pitts. Left tackle, Jim Tyrer. Left guard, Ed Buddy. Center, E.J. Holland. Right guard, Mo Moorman. Right tackle, Dave Hill. Tight end, Fred Arbanis. The backfield, quarterback, Len Dawson. Running backs, Mike Garrett and Bobby Holmes. And the wide receiver, Otis Taylor. The defense of Oakland in a moment. First down, Taylor wide receiver to the right. And in motion to the left goes Garrett. Holmes has the football and picks up a couple of yards, but flags go down. There are 3 of them on the field. And it is Kansas City that is walking backwards. And it is the official that is talking to Dan Connors, the middle linebacker of Oakland. A legal procedure or a motion charged against Kansas City and refused by Oakland. A gain of 2. It'll be second down and 8. The referee this afternoon is Jack Best. Umpire Paul Krapinski. Field judge Bob Bauer. Cal Lepore is the head linesman. Hugh Gamber the back judge. And the line judge is Aaron Wade. Second down and 8. Garrett wide left. Only one setback. Taylor to the right. Dawson back to throw. Has Taylor, who's out to the 44-yard line. First down, Kansas City. Tackle was made there by number 26, Nehemiah Wilson of Oakland. Ike Lassiter, Carlton Oakes, Tom Keating, Ben Davidson, the front 4 for Oakland. Bill Lasky, Dan Connors, Gus Otto, the linebackers. Nehemiah Wilson, George Atkinson, Dave Grayson, and Willie Brown, the deep men. First down at the 44.
And if the offensive formations that the Chiefs have lined up in on the first 2 plays are any indication, they're going to open up this ball game early, because on all 3 occasions they had 3 wide receivers.
This is a straight-ahead play out of the straight-eye formation with Bobby Holmes carrying across the 45 out to the 48. A gain of 4. It'll be second down and 6. We're in the opening moments of the ball game. 13 minutes, 35 seconds to go in the first quarter. There's no score.
And that was just the opposite of the first 2 plays where they lined up with the 3 wide receivers on each of the first 2 plays. On that play, they all lined up directly behind the center in the I formation and ran from that without shifting. But this is just some indication of the way Kansas City likes to run. They won't sit in any one formation or do any one thing all afternoon. They hit you with a variety of things, making it very difficult to defense them.
Frank Pitts wide left. Taylor flanked right. On second down and 6, Dawson back to pass. Fakes to his swing man, Holmes, and then overthrows Garrett behind the line of scrimmage at the 41-yard line, dumping the ball out of bounds. Tremendous pressure put on up front by Tom Keating and by number 85, Carlton Oakes.
And he overthrew the receiver purposely because Garrett was out there on a screen pass, but Ralph Oliver, one of the linebackers of Oakland, was right out there with him. He did not want to take the chance of an interception, so he purposely threw it over his head out of bounds. Even there, though, that was not a normal screen pass because they came back and faked the screen to the left, first of all, to Robert Holmes, and then ended up looking for Garrett behind a screen to the right. So a little bit of trickery from Kansas City in the early stages here.
Third down and 6 from the 48 of Kansas City. And now Pitts and Taylor are both to the left. In motion to the right comes Mike Garrett. Back goes Lenny Dawson looking to throw. Throws deep, intended for Taylor. Taylor's there, drops the ball at the 12. In behind his man, number 24, Willie Brown, had the ball in his arms at the 12, and it popped out. And it's fourth down and 6.
And there was the deep one. The quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, Lenny Dawson, has been saying all week prior to this game that the Oakland Raiders dare you to throw deep because, as we mentioned before, they line their defensive secondary or their defensive cornerbacks up right up on the line of scrimmage, right on your receivers, try to bump the receivers as they go downfield. Of course, it gives your receivers a good chance of slipping by them and hitting them on the deep pass.
Gerald Wilson with a 44.4-yard punting average back to kick, kicks the ball from his own 37. George Atkinson is deep, watches the ball hit at the 12, and it's going to die right at the 12. Well, it'll be first and 10, and Oakland is in a hole. There's timeout with the score. Kansas City nothing and Oakland nothing.
This is Chris Economaki here with stock car racing's biggest all-time winner, Richard Petty. Richard, most of your victories have come in a Plymouth.
Well, it's good to be back. The Petties and Plymouth was feel like one family.
Richard, the question has been asked many times. How much is car and how much is driver in winning a race?
Well, it's really hard to say, Chris. It's a combination of both, I guess, but probably half and half because A driver can't win the race alone, and the car can't win a race alone.
Richard, you've had a great career, and you've got 101 wins, more than any other driver. How many have come behind the wheel of a Plymouth?
Well, we've been driving Plymouth for 10 years, and we won 92 races.
One more question, Richard. Granted, Plymouth makes great race cars. How does Plymouth rate as a passenger car?
They're great, too. I drive one to and from the races.
Be like Richard Petty and join the system, the Plymouth Rapid Transit System. Plymouth makes it.
Back in Oakland, the Raiders with their first chance with their hands on the football. From their own 12, Rod Sherman is starting as a wide receiver, not Warren Wells. Sherman is wide to the left. LaMonica calls signals. Bolitnikoff wide right. LaMonica hands the football to Charlie Smith out across the 15. Going to his left across the 20 to the 21-yard line. A pickup of 9 yards before he is knocked down there by Johnny Robinson and Emmett Thomas. Rod Sherman, wide receiver. Bob Swias, left tackle. Eugene Upshaw, left guard. Jim Otto at center. Jim Harvey, the right guard. Harry Shue, the right tackle. Billy Cannon, the tight end. LaMonica, Charlie Smith, Hewitt Dixon, and Fred Bolitnikoff, the running backs. Second down. LaMonica hands to Smith again. Same play. Cuts back, gets across to the 24-yard line. And it's first down for Oakland at the 24. Jerry Mays, Curly Cup, Buck Buchanan, and Aaron Brown, the front four for Kansas City. Bobby Bell, Willie Lanier, Jim Lynch, the linebackers, Jim Marcellus, Jim Kearney, Johnny Robinson, and Emmett Thomas, the deep backs. First down, and now the ball has been spotted right at the 25. Now we see that Aaron Brown is not in there. Charlie Smith coming around and is tripped up on a fine play by the diving right linebacker, Jim Lynch. Does get across the 25, and not much more, perhaps a yard. So it'll be second down and 9 from the 26. No score with 11 minutes, 43 seconds to go, first quarter.
And the Oakland Raiders have run practically the same play on each of the first 3 downs that they have had the ball. They have a fine offensive line, and they're particularly adept at pulling. Their 2 offensive guards are very good, getting out in front of the ball carrier, particularly on the wide sweeps. The first 2 plays went off tackle. The last one went just a little wider, but all of them going to the left.
Now second and 9. LaMonica back to throw to his halfback coming out. Charlie Smith steps out of bounds on the 33-yard line. Very close to a first down. It'll be third down and a couple of yards to go. That's the first pass thrown by LaMonica, but Charlie Smith has carried the ball 3 times and caught the only pass thrown. LaMonica, 51.9% completions on the year. Listen to this, 3,302 yards, 34 touchdowns. Has been intercepted 25 times. Billy Cannon, the tight end, is now split about 10 yards to the left. And both Sherman and Bolitnikoff are to the right. And both are flanked wide. LaMonica back on third down short yardage as Billy Cannon is tight end out near the 40-yard line. First down for Oakland.
And as you watch the Oakland Raiders move down the field, or at least make 2 first downs, you get the idea of confidence coming from them. They seem to feel, just in watching them run the running plays, watching LaMonica go back, take his time, set up, not excited at all. You get the feeling that they are extremely confident going into this game, perhaps caused by the fact that they have beaten the Chiefs 7 out of the last 8 times they have played.
LaMonica hands to Charlie Smith, trying to go wide, and Smith picks up a couple of yards across the 40, running to his right, run out of bounds across the way. And the tackle made by that very mobile middle linebacker, Willie Lanier, 6'1", 245, a third-year veteran from Morgan State. Was a middle linebacker, has also intercepted 4 passes on the year. Kansas City, its rugged defense has allowed the fewest first downs rushing, and the least yards gain of anybody, and the least touchdowns of any defense. That's what Oakland is going against. Second down, 7. LaMonica hands to Hewitt Dixon. Dixon running to his left is across the 40, up near the 50-yard line, and close to a first down. Again, Willie Lanier makes the tackle. The officials step in and are now calling for a measurement. Very close. Charlie Smith comes out, and Larry Todd goes into the backfield for Oakland as Darryl LaMonica walks over, standing there alongside his center Jim Otto, to see whether or not it is a first down. The ball the nose nearly at midfield. And it is a first down for Oakland. No score, a little bit more than 10 minutes to go. We're just in the first quarter of this 10th and last American Football League title game. The winner, the right to go on and play the Vikings in the Super Bowl next week. Sherman, split left. Bolitnikov, flanked right. Ball is handed to Larry Todd, dancing at the line of scrimmage, rolls off, and is tackled by Jim Kearney as he gets into Kansas City territory at the 48. In case you've just joined us, Kansas City took the opening kickoff. Dawson threw deep. Otis Taylor had his man beat. The ball hit him at the 12, but popped out of his hands, and Kansas City had to kick the ball to the Raiders, who've now marched it down to the 48 of Kansas City, where it is second down and about 8 to go. Billy Cannon, the tight end, and he was thrown to last time he came out in this formation, is split about 15 yards to the left. Bolitnikov is flanked right. LaMonica calling signals, instead hands to Hewitt Dixon, who goes off his right side and gets across the 45 down to the 44. And that is about all. Big Jerry Mays, the defensive left end, made the tackle, helped out by Bobby Bell and Willie Lanier. Now a big third down situation, George. 3rd and 4.
I don't ever recall seeing the Oakland Raiders split Billy Cannon, who normally plays tight end, splitting him out so wide. Now here he comes, there he goes to the other side this time, lined up wide to the right, but not lined up near the tackle where he normally would line up.
Bolitnikov and Sherman are to the left, and LaMonica drops back deep to Hewitt Dixon, who bobbles the ball at the 50, and it's 4th down. Now we remember a year ago in a title game when a ball was thrown by Darryl LaMonica, but it was ruled a lateral, and it was picked up by the New York Jets, and that led to the Oakland Raiders' demise and the Jets going on to the Super Bowl and their subsequent victory over Baltimore. Warren McVay goes deep to take the expected punt, but it won't be. From 52 yards out, George Blanda is going to try a field goal. Blanda's attempted field goal is up. McVay watches it, has it at the goal line. It is no good, but they say he was in the end zone, so it'll come out to the 20. 1st and 10 for Kansas City at the 20-yard line, with 8 minutes, 37 seconds to go in the first quarter. Oh, there's a timeout with the score still Kansas City nothing and Oakland nothing.
Hi, this is Joe Garagio. Now, what am I doing here right now? I mean, this certainly isn't my show. Matter of fact, I have absolutely nothing to do with this show. Maybe that's why I'm here. Seriously, though, I'm here because somebody came up to me the other day and they said, "Hey, Joe, how about doing a promo for your sports show? And while you're at it, put in a plug for Monitor, too. You're still one of their hosts, aren't you?" Well, I'll tell you something. After that crack, I wanted to punch somebody right in the chops. But I couldn't. See, it was a lady. I mean, a girl. And anyhow, she knew how I hid, and she wasn't too worried. So I said, okay, I'll do it. Now, what, you ask, is a promo in the first place, right? Well, why don't you take some notes? A promo is when I come on like this and say, be sure to listen to the Joe Garagiola Sports Show every weekday and every weekend. Join me on Monitor, both right here on NBC Radio. Now, that's a promo.
Sunny skies at Oakland, no score. Kansas City with the ball, 1st and 10 at its own 20. I formation now shifting out of the I with Taylor to the right and Pitts to the left. Garrett and Holmes, the setbacks. Dawson 1 for 3 for 13 yards. Hands the ball to Bobby Holmes, who has been met at the line of scrimmage on a fine play by the safety man, Dave Grayson, who came up to make the tackle. Grayson was not dropping off, but coming up to meet the runner, Bobby Holmes.
And that's the first time the Kansas City Chiefs have run from what we might call a normal offensive pro set, where they had the split end wide on one side, a flanker wide on the other, and the tight end in at his normal position. No man in motion, nothing unusual that time. But the first time they have run from that normal offensive formation that most pro teams use all the time.
2nd down, and again, Pitts and Taylor come to the same side, the right side. Now, Garrett started in motion, now changes his mind and takes a three-point stance again, which, of course, is entirely legal. The ball goes to Holmes, who busts up the middle and gets out to the 23, perhaps the 24-yard line. And that is all. The tackle was made there by Ben Davidson.
I think perhaps Lenny Dawson checked that play, changed the play at the line of scrimmage because it appeared that Garrett wanted to start in motion. Evidently, Dawson had called a play in the huddle that would have called for Mike Garrett to go in motion, came up to the line of scrimmage and changed the play, and Garrett had already started a step, so he had to come back to his normal set position.
Now we come to another third down situation. 3rd and 7. And Dawson rolling to the right to throw, looking to his left, throwing and overthrows Garrett, who was covered by Grayson at the 40, but overthrew him by 5 or 7 yards. And so now Gerald Wilson will come in, and Kansas City must surrender the football once more to the Oakland Raiders.
And that time Dawson had Garrett out wide as a flanker on the left-hand side, trying to bring him in over the middle on what we normally describe as a post pattern, because you break downfield in toward the goalpost. But you don't see that too often. Usually they keep Garrett in the running back position.
7 minutes, 9 seconds to go, first quarter. There's no score. Wilson, who last time punted for 47 yards, is back inside his own 10, standing at his 8. George Atkinson is deep with Rod Sherman, the up man for Oakland. Wilson gets the ball away, and Atkinson watches and takes it at the 36. Busts upfield and is thrown down as he gets to the 44. Very nearly broke a tackle to get away, but he was tackled by number 60 of Kansas City, George Daney, an offensive guard. There's timeout here at Oakland with the score still Kansas City nothing and Oakland nothing.
Hey, Melvin. Melvin? Whom are you calling Melvin?
You, that's whom. Come on, Joe. For Pete's sake, hurry it up, will you? I got a recording session in that studio right now.
Keep your shirt on, Gene boy. I got one more show to do.
But I'm late now.
Listen, just go park your bicycle, and by that time, I'll be through.
Hey, now, don't knock that bike, boy. It's good exercise. You ought to try it yourself.
Oh, yeah? I suppose I should also wear plaid slacks and carry a big, long cigarette holder, huh?
All right, that does it. Now, listen, you ball player. You already got more time. You have just heard, unrehearsed, Mr. Gene Rayburn and Mr. Joe Garagiola. Just two of the charming, delightful hosts you'll meet each weekend on Monitor. This is Henry Morgan, also charming and delightful, also on Monitor. But I have a gentle disposition.
You keep waiting for something to happen. Oakland's got the football now on its own 44, 1st and 10. Sherman is to the left, Blitnikoff right. The ball is handed to Larry Todd, and Todd gets to about the 45-yard line and not much more. The tackle was made there by Curly Culp. Charlie Smith came in and carried the ball 4 separate times for a total of 17 yards, went out, and Larry Todd came in. Larry Todd started this sequence of plays and now walks off the field himself. It'll be 2nd down and 9 with the nose of the football on the 45. Charlie Smith is in, comes out as a flanker outside of Billy Cannon, who is split to the left. LaMonica back to throw under a tremendous rush, throws for Sherman and overthrows him at the 35-yard line, and Sherman had knifed in front of Emmett Thomas and had an open field ahead. But LaMonica that time, George, was under a rush.
And it would seem as if they are trying to set something up with Billy Cannon. As we mentioned before, he normally plays in at the regular tight end position, where he lines up not too far away from an offensive tackle. But in the last 2 series of downs when Oakland has had the ball, they have lined up Sherman and Blitnikoff, normally the primary receivers, wide to one side, and then have split Billy Cannon out all by himself wide to another side. Now, they're not lining up that way this time, but they have several times in the past, and it seems like they're eventually going to try to isolate Cannon on one defensive back.
Cannon is out, Drew Brewery is in, and LaMonica is under a tremendous rush and is thrown back at the 35-yard line by Jerry Maves, along with Curly Culp. They got an inside rush that time. Drew Buey, listed as a wide receiver, came in as a replacement for Billy Cannon and was flanked wide to the right. They had 2 wide receivers on both sides, something we have not seen from Oakland this year. LaMonica forced down at the 35-yard line, where it is 4th down now and 19 to go, and so Mike Eyeshide, with a 42.7-yard punting average on the season, comes in. Steps back to his own 20. 2 deep men for Kansas City, and they are both dangerous. Garrett Drops back inside his 15. Now drops the ball, falls on it at the 10. Belongs to Kansas City, but it is first and 10 for Kansas City, and Garrett, looking into the sun, very nearly dropped that football and turned over the first big break of the game to the Oakland Raiders. No score, 5:50 to go. We're just in the first quarter.
And Garrett was smart when he dropped the ball. He did not go back and try to pick it up and run with it. He merely wanted to cover the ball, wanted to get on it to make sure that he didn't turn over control to the Oakland Raiders. So that's the reason he didn't go back and fiddle around with it, try to pick it up and run with it. He just wanted to make sure that he didn't lose it entirely.
A 55-yard punt by Mike Eyeshot. Now, the straight I formation. Everybody behind Len Dawson. Shifting out of it now into kind of a wishbone T. Dawson holds on to the football. Looked as though he tried to give off to Robert Holmes, but there was a mix-up, I believe, in the backfield, George.
I'm sure there was. They lined up, as you say, in a full house, you might say, with the three running backs behind Dawson. It was sort of the reverse of a wishbone T, where the fullback normally cheats forward a little bit. This time the fullback was cheated back, and the two halfbacks were up a little bit. So we had something similar to the wishbone T, but more or less the reverse of it. We've noticed several times they've had mix-up in their backfields. It seems as if perhaps during the past week they put in some new plays, and this has caused some confusion in the Kansas City offense.
Gloucester Richardson wide left, Otis Taylor to the right. It is second down and 10 from the 10-yard line of Kansas City. Robert Holmes with the football, trying to go outside to the right, and is upended on a fine tackle. The football is loose, and they're scrambling for it inside the 5-yard line. Instead, belongs to Kansas City at about the 3. Down at the bottom is Len Dawson, who recovered the fumble of Holmes that about 3 men had, and now they're marching back to the 8 and say that is where the whistle had blown. And so the ball was placed down inside the 10. Now they put it down on the 10, saying that Holmes did get back to the line of scrimmage and perhaps picked up a half a yard. So all of the scrambling inside the 10 and inside the 5 was for naught. The whistle had blown. Third down, though, and long yardage, about 9.5. Ralph Oliver hit Holmes with a jolting tackle that knocked it loose. Richardson and Garrett are both wide to the left. Back to pass is Dawson, looking for Taylor, and overthrows him at the 34-yard line. And he was covered pretty well there.
Nehemiah Wilson right with him all the way, close enough so that he could bump along with him, you might say, sort of shoulder him a little bit. He wasn't interfering with him enough to be called by an official, but definitely running right along with Taylor, not giving him an inch. And that's what these Oakland men in the secondary do. They get right up with you on the line of scrimmage, bump you as you come off the line of scrimmage as a pass receiver, and then just stay with you all the way down the field. They have an amazing corps of pass defenders.
Fourth down from the 10.5, and Gerald Wilson, who has had the punt a couple of times before, back in his own end zone. George Atkinson deep in this first quarter, which is scoreless, and a booming punt. Driving Atkinson back. The ball hits at the 30-yard line. Now bounds forward to about the 34-yard line, where it'll be marked down, and it'll be first and 10 for Oakland from there. We pause 10 seconds for station identification.
When your clock radio goes off in the AM, what voice should you hear? Here's a clue. Join Bill Edwardson on the fresh air sound of WGY Schenectady, weekday mornings, 6 to 10.
A 57-yard punt by Gerald Wilson. This is Jim Simpson, and here is George Rademan in the scoreless ball game. But, George, what do you think?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think Oakland seems a bit more relaxed going into today's game, a bit more confident. They seem to feel that they can run their normal ball game, perhaps not quite as normal as usual, and that they've been splitting the receivers a little wider, taking Cannon from his tight end position, putting him out wide. But we haven't had quite so many variations from the normal on the part of the Oakland Raiders as the Kansas City Chiefs. And as we mentioned just a moment ago, it seemed on several occasions that the Chiefs have gotten a little confused in their offense. This can happen if you put in too many new plays for a ball game such as this. It's just too much for the boys to assimilate in a week's time or in 2 weeks' time. You have some mix-ups, particularly in the early stages of the game, and it seemed like that's occurred a few times in the Kansas City offense.
Bolitnikoff, and they haven't thrown his way yet, goes wide right. Rod Sherman comes to the left. Warren Wells has not played in this ball game. And off to Hewitt Dixon, and Dixon is fighting and perhaps gets back to the line of scrimmage, and not much more at the Oakland 34. Wrestled down there on another fine play by the defensive left end, Jerry Mays. That's the direction in which Dixon started. And by the time he wound up, Mays had thrown him back, and let's give him a yard on the play to the 35, second down and 9. 3:10 to go, first quarter. Sherman to the left, Politnikoff right, Dixon and Smith, the setbacks. Billy Cannon in at tight end, and LaMonica dropping back to pass. LaMonica down and out to Charlie Smith across the 40 to the 42-yard line. Shy of the first down, of course. It'll be third down and short yardage. Bumped out of bounds by number 18, the right cornerback, Emmett Thomas, a 4-year veteran from Bishop. A beautiful setting for the Oakland-Alameda County Stadium with the hills in the background, and anytime you get in the Bay Area, you bet your life, a lot of seagulls in the stadium. And now Sherman and Politnikoff are both to the right. Cannon is split about 10 yards left, and on third down short yardage, LaMonica under a rush throws, has Charlie Smith. Smith trying to get the first down, and by jockeying around does get across the 45, does have the first down at the 46-yard line. Jim Kearney and Jim Lynch made the stop. Kearney a safety man, and Lynch the right side linebacker. But the ball is put down at the 46 of Oakland, first and 10, the Raiders.
And I think we have to say that thus far it appears that Darryl LaMonica is on target today. He's thrown more passes than Lenny Dawson, so we really can't say that much about Dawson's passing yet, but LaMonica definitely appears to be on target, particularly with his short ones. Almost all his passes have been short ones thus far.
Politnikoff and Sherman are to the right. Cannon split left. The draw play to Hewitt Dixon is only going to get about a yard. Curly Culp, the left tackle, second-year man from Arizona State, made the tackle at the 47. Well, Oakland has the reputation and the statistics to show. Warren Wells makes his first appearance. Rod Sherman comes out. Since being hurt before the playoff game, Warren Wells is back in for the first time. Had a shoulder separation. 47 catches on the year, 14 touchdowns, nearly 27 yards a catch. His 80-yard catch, the longest. He comes wide left. Started to say that Oakland's line, great reputation for protecting Darryl LaMonica, but they're under duress today. Kansas City is really charging. They are again. LaMonica back to pass. Goes down and out to Billy Cannon, the tight end. First down inside the 45-yard line. Nobody knocked Cannon out of bounds. He simply dove out, caught the ball inbounds, and rolled out of bounds at the 43-yard line of Kansas City. A minute and a half to go. First quarter, there's no score.
LaMonica put Warren Wells wide to the left that time, and I guess knew that Kansas City would probably be covering him with two men, as they were. They had Emmett Thomas up on his post, but then Johnny Robinson was back there going with him deep, and so they just let Warren Wells go deep down the field, take those two men with him, and he crossed Billy Cannon underneath. He was wide open.
Now Politnikoff is to the right, wide, and Wells is set in the slot to the right. And now they're putting the ball up in the air for Politnikoff. Trying to get down there, cannot get the ball at the 11-yard line. A fine job of protection done on him by number 40, the rookie from Tennessee State, the left cornerback, Jim Marcellus. He had a tough man in Fred Politnikoff with 54 catches on the year to defend, but was with him stride for stride. Sherman comes back in, and let's see whether or not Warren Wells comes out. It is not Wells coming out. Instead, it is Billy Cannon. So now you have Rod Sherman, Warren Wells, Fred Politnikoff, all wide receivers. No tight end as such in the ball game. Second down 10 from the 43 of Kansas City. Politnikoff and Wells to the right. Sherman to the left. Smith and Dixon, the setbacks. And LaMonica dropping straight back to pass. Brown is there, throws down and out, has Sherman. First down inside the 30. Rolled out of bounds by Jim Kearney at the 29-yard line. Mark it at the 28. LaMonica has chosen to throw deep only once, and that was when Politnikoff could not get to the ball. Marcellus with him, but he's been short, as George has told you, and he is on target.
And he didn't look at anybody else except Sherman that time. He followed him all the way down the field. He had Warren Wells and Politnikoff, who are normally his primary targets, out alone or together on the one side of the field, knew that that would cause Kansas City to overload the defense that way, and just watch Sherman and hit him as he went down and out.
Charlie Smith is nearly decapitated by Aaron Brown as he hits the line of scrimmage. On that play, Warren Wells had come back in and was split left, and Politnikoff was flanked to the right. Going out of the ball game now is Ed Lothamer for Kansas City in the defensive line, and Curly Cup is coming back in. But it's a gain of a yard, 2nd down and 9 from the 27-yard line of Kansas City. 54 seconds left first quarter. Been quite a first quarter, but nobody has really threatened until now. Now Biletnikoff wide to the right, and Wells slotted to the right, and LaMonica dropping back to throw. LaMonica throws to Wells, inside the 10, inside the 5, and out of bounds he goes at the 3. Crossing pattern to Warren Wells. Run out of bounds by Emmett Thomas. 1st and goal to go, Oakland.
Bit of an unusual pattern by the Oakland Raiders and Warren Wells on that play, because Fred Biletnikoff was flanked wide to the right. He ran straight down the field, took his man deep with him. Wells was in the slot, was inside Biletnikoff, and broke out underneath him. But normally when you run a pass pattern such as that, the man breaking out into the flat will only go downfield about 5 yards and do it. That time Wells went down about 15 yards. Appeared as if he also was going deep, but then at the last minute broke out into the flat.
Charlie Smith will score. Going over the left side. Nobody there to stop him. Seconds left. Charlie Smith knifed over his own left side, and nobody was there. George Blanda is in. Blanda has kicked 45 for 45 this year. Tried the extra point. The ball is down. The kick is up, and it is good. Oakland is out in front, 7-0.
You have to admire Darryl LaMonica's play calling as he's taken his team down the field. Picks up his offense extremely well, throwing more passes now than they started out calling early in the ball game, but he mixes his pass patterns up so very well. He'll put the 2 wide receivers, Wells and Biletnikoff, to one side, come back and hit Sherman, whom he has now isolated on the other side of the field. Did that once. So Kansas City now will start looking for that. Then he came back and started running the combination patterns between Biletnikoff and Wells, but he's mixing up the offense extremely well.
66 yards and 9 plays. And George, if we can go back to what we said before the game began, Kansas City did not want Oakland to score first. It does not like to play catch-up football. They like to control the ball and run more than any other team in the American Football League. And Oakland was determined to score first for that same reason.
This puts some pressure on Kansas City, and quite frankly, thus far in the ballgame, they have been playing more like a team under pressure than the Oakland Raiders.
Eyeshide will kick off. The ball bounds at the 20-yard line, picked up lateral to back. The number 38, who is Wendell Hayes, and actually they get a good return out of it because Hayes gets up to the 36-yard line where it's 1st and 10 for Kansas City. What happened was the ball hit at the 20. One of the up linemen picked it up, bobbled it, scooped it back to Hayes, who was deep for the kickoff, and he brought it out to the 36. 1st and 10. Len Dawson comes back in. Dawson trying to get something going, talking to his red and white outfitted Kansas City Chiefs, sending Frank Pitts to the left with Mike Garrett slotted to the left and Otis Taylor wide right. Arbennis, the tight end, is split to the right, and the officials are stepping in and asking for a new football. There's no dampness here. Kansas City has decided to huddle. Once more, 3 seconds to go in the quarter. Pitts and Garrett come back to the huddle to find out whether or not Lenny Dawson has changed. Well, now they'll just wait because the gun has gone off, and that's the end of the first quarter. The score, Oakland 7, the Kansas City Chiefs nothing.
What do you put your emphasis on? Sports, music, theater, or maybe you have dreams of becoming a cordon bleu chef? Me, I generally focus on new ways to spend my time off, and with me, that's a business. Oh, yes, indeed, because in case you haven't recognized my dulcet, maybe pear-shaped tones, this is Bill Cullen, and I do all this research for you. Oh, you don't believe that, do you? The fruits of my noble effort may be enjoyed by one and all every weekday on NBC Emphasis Time Off. Now then, tennis, anyone?
Tennis? Well, my first love actually is baseball, but I covered tennis, too, along with horse racing, boxing, boating, soccer, post office, stock car races, badminton, volleyball, on occasion hide and seek, spin the bottle, ring alivio, and bocce. Hey, what I'm really trying to say, folks, is I'm Joe Garagio, and I have a show, too, also weekdays, also on NBC Radio. And I, too, have some pretty good ideas on how to spend your time off. Give me a listen.
Back in Oakland, California to begin the second quarter. Hello again, Jim Simpson with George Radaman. Oakland leading by the score of 7-0. The sun is still out. The wind, listed at 10 miles an hour, seems much higher than that. And now, on first down 10, Kansas City has two wide receivers to the left and right. Dawson back in the crowd is thrown inside the 30-yard line. Glenn Dawson tossed down by Tom Keating and the blitzing linebacker on the play, Dan Connors, who intercepted one of Dawson's passes and returned it 75 yards in a game at Kansas City to win that game 27-24. Well, the original line of scrimmage, the 36, now move it back inside the 30 to the 28. Second down and 18. Lassiter, Oakes, Keating, and Davidson, the front four for Oakland. Lasky, Connors, and Otto, the linebackers. Wilson, Atkinson, Grayson, and Brown, the deep men. Again, Pitts and Garrett are to the left. Taylor and Arbanos to the right. And the pass by Dawson is incomplete. Intended for Frank Pitts, who was coming down and out, and guarded all the way by Willie Brown. So it'll be third down and 18.
Pitts was out there, and Mike Garrett was out there a little bit shorter than Pitts. It appeared as if Garrett almost could have caught the ball, but thought it was intended for Pitts and let it go by.
Minnesota earlier today defeated the Cleveland Browns, and so Minnesota's already earned the right to play in the Super Bowl a week from today in New Orleans. These two teams are fighting for the right to be the Vikings' opponents. Otis Taylor trots out to the right. Frank Pitts and Garrett again come to the left. Arbanos again is split to the right as the tight end. Back goes Dawson inside his 20, trying to set up. In trouble, fires the ball, almost intercepted. Jumping up and down is George Atkinson. There were 3 Oakland Raiders there and only one Kansas City receiver, Otis Taylor. Atkinson jumped in front of everybody and nearly pulled off the interception. And in doing so, Nehemiah Wilson of Oakland was shaken up but is coming off the field. So it is fourth down and 18. Rod Sherman and Atkinson, who very nearly pulled off the interception, go deep. Gerald Wilson, for the first time today, will be punting into the wind. He has had some boomers, including one of 57 yards. He's also been called on to punt an awful lot. 14:30 to go in the half, 7-0 Oakland. Wilson standing inside his own 15-yard line at the 13. Gets the boot away from the 17 high, and you can see the wind hold it up this time. Atkinson is going to let it hit and takes a scoot forward after hitting at the 32, goes inside the 25 and out of bounds at the 23. Oakland leading 7-0, trotting on the field. Darryl LaMonica, the first man on the field. First and 10 Oakland from its own 23-yard line. LaMonica hands to Hewitt Dixon, sweeping to his left. Upshot a block for him, springs across the 25, across the 30, and out to the 33-yard line. The boys knocked down across the way. Fine run by Dixon with Willie Lanier, the middle linebacker, making the stop. Very nearly picked up enough for the first down. And it might be that they're going to measure. That's exactly what they're going to do. Dixon almost picks up 10 yards and may have done it, sweeping his own left side.
Unusual feature of the Oakland offense is the fact that Hewitt Dixon, who is one of their prime running backs, was formerly a tight end. You don't see that too frequently, where you take a tight end and make him into a running back. But something doubly unusual is the fact that the tight end of the Oakland Raiders is Billy Cannon, who was formerly a running back, both as a halfback at Louisiana State University and in the early years of the American Football League when he was with the Houston Oilers. So we have a former tight end playing running back and a former running back playing tight end for the Oakland Raiders.
Oakland has 6 first downs, about a foot away from a 7th. Kansas City has 1. Kansas City's rushed for 7 yards, passed for 13. Oakland has rushed for 33 yards, passed for 69. Second down and about a foot to go, and LaMonica is going to throw deep. Throwing down, and it may be intercepted off the hands of Jim Kearney across the way. Intended there for the tight end, Billy Cannon, at the 45-yard line. So now LaMonica is faced with third down and about a foot.
And the Raiders were trying to flood the left-hand zone that time. They had 3 receivers out there. Billy Cannon, Rod Sherman, and Hewitt Dixon were all down and out to the left. Of course, they don't all run to the same spot. Cannon was the deep one, and the other two were shallower, were shorter than he was. But you call that flooding a zone when you send 3 men to the same side of the field at different lengths downfield.
Litnikoff right. The ball is handed to Charlie Smith. Flag goes down. Smith looks as though he's got the first down, but hold on. A flag went down immediately as Smith tried to go across his own left tackle. The flag was thrown after the play developed. And now they're saying that it is holding, the preliminary sign, against Oakland, and instead of a first down, they'll march back 15 yards. Well, I'm sure that the Kansas City Chiefs will take this one. Jerry Mays is out there talking, and it could be that if Smith did not, by some chance, make the first down, that they would have it 4th down and a foot to go and have them kick the ball back. Referee Jack Best is now talking to Darryl LaMonica. Now they're going to call for a measurement. That's exactly what's going to happen, because if Smith did not make it, then perhaps Kansas City would refuse it. They're talking to both Mays, LaMonica, Jim Otto, Ed Lothamer. Now they're telling us holding has been charged. Otto is going right along with the official, and now they're calling for the sticks. So, George, we'll just wait and see.
Now, sometimes the captains of the teams will get into a discussion with the officials and call for a measurement as they're doing this, just to give their team a rest, to give them a blow. But usually that happens in the early season games when the weather's a bit hotter than it is, and usually in the late stages of the game.
Well, that's what they did. They did not make the first down, and not by much, only by, half a foot, perhaps. But instead of taking the 15 yards, Kansas City took the play to make it 4th down and a foot, figuring with the ball just with its nose on the Oakland side of its own 32. It would not chance going for it, which apparently did not. Mike Eyeshot has come in. And the deep receivers, Willie Mitchell and Garrett, are back awaiting Eyeshot's punt. The ball bounds at the 30, now rolls past the 20, down to the 15, inside the 15 to the 14, where it is down there. And they're back in a hole. Drew Buey, number 89, a substitute wide receiver, down the ball at the 14-yard line. Kansas City has it there, a little bit more than 85 yards away from a tying score. The only score of the game was set up on a long pass on a down-and-out pattern to Warren Wells, who went out of bounds on the 3, and the very next play, Charlie Smith went over his own left side. A 53-yard kick by Mike Eyeshot.
And a good bit of that came on the roll after the ball hit. For that reason, most coaches tell the people back to receive punts, always try to catch it in the air if you can. Fair catch it if necessary, but don't let it hit and roll another 20 yards.
One flanker, and that is Otis Taylor to the right. Everybody else in fairly tight as Dawson calls signals, hands off to Robert Holmes, and Holmes bursts through that line, straight up the middle, across the 20 to the 21. Fine play. Holmes is not tall, nor is any of the Kansas City backs. Holmes is 5'9", Mike Garrett is 5'9", Warren McVeigh is 5'9", and Holmes simply disappeared under a mound of folks and then came up on the other side at the 21, gain of 7.
You know, that can be extremely helpful to a T-formation quarterback to have all of your running backs the same height. You run into difficulty sometime if you have one man who's 5'9" and another one's 6'4", because you go to make your handoff and you put the ball too low for the fellow who's 6'4", because you're used to giving it to the shorter man, and sometimes you hit his knee and you have a fumble resulting.
This is Dawson on a bootleg, and Dawson just does get back to the line of scrimmage and not much more. Now, again, George, whether or not that was an intended bootleg or whether Lenny wound up with the football and simply ran, I'm not sure.
No, I think it was another blown play in the Kansas City backfield, and you can see Dawson now shaking his head a bit, coming back, talking to Mike Garrett, perhaps indicating that Garrett went the wrong way, that he was supposed to get the handoff. But again, it's quite amazing. There have been numerous blown plays thus far in the Kansas City backfield when they're on offense, possibly due to the fact that they have come up with some new formations, some new plays just for this ball game, and haven't had enough time to really learn them well.
Well, now they're taking a long time in the huddle. Instead of 3rd down and short yardage or perhaps a first down, they've only had one. It is again 3rd down and 3. Now they have taken too long. It seemed as though, and it might have been, George, because Dawson was saying, fellas, this is the play, and this is the way we run it on this count. In any event, he took a long time in the huddle, and instead of, well, look at it this way. It was 2nd down and 3. There was a blown play. Dawson was hit at the line of scrimmage. It became 3rd and 3. Then they took too long. That's a 5-yard penalty for delay of game, and now it's 3rd down and 8. And that's a big difference, especially when the ball has been backed up inside your own 20-yard line down to the 16. Pitts and Taylor both come to the left. I formation behind Dawson on 3rd down and 8. Garrett goes in motion to the right. Dawson drops back to pass. Dawson has time, looks off the hands of Fred Arbanis, very nearly into the hands of the linebacker on the play, Ralph Oliver, but there's a flag down at the 14. And they're talking to Connors. Oakland's defense has already left the field, holding charged against Kansas City, and Kansas City has the penalty refused by Oakland and must kick the ball back to the Raiders. George Atkinson and Rod Sherman go deep. Gerald Wilson called in still again. The punt, 11:36 to go. First half, it is 7-0 Oakland, and Wilson is stepping back almost to his goal line. Lenny Dawson is 1 for 8 for 13 yards. Wilson awaiting the snap from center. Has it, and this ball is a low driving punt hitting at the 38-yard line. Atkinson is going to watch it go out of bounds. It was knocked out of bounds along the way, helped along by number 22, Willie Mitchell, one of the defensive backs in on the punting team for Kansas City. Now there's a timeout with the score. Oakland 7, Kansas City nothing.
As you know by now probably that we are getting ready to go back with Plymouth.
This is Chrissy Conamacky here with stock car racing's biggest all-time winner, Richard Petty. Richard, most of your victories have come in a Plymouth, and now you've come back.
Well, it's good to be back. The Petties and Plymouth are sort of like one family.
Any other reasons for this move, Richard?
Well, in order to win races, the driver has to have the best equipment.
Well, what about the new Plymouth Streamliner you'll be driving, the Roadrunner Superbird?
Well, the Superbird is a new design car that should work real good on the super speedway races.
Technically, how does it stack up underneath, the suspension and all?
Well, the suspension this year should be better than last year, and with the body, coupled with the body design, it should be a lot better.
One more question, Richard. Granted, Plymouth makes great race cars. How does Plymouth rate as a passenger car?
They're great, too. I drive one to and from the races.
Be like Richard Petty and join the system, the Plymouth Rapid Transit System. Plymouth makes it.
Oakland out of the huddle now on 1st down from its own 33. LaMonica dropping straight back to throw. LaMonica throwing deep, intended for Rod Sherman. Sherman is back there. Emmett Thomas was right with him. And safety man Johnny Robinson was coming over to help out, but the ball falls incomplete inside the 30. 2nd down 10, and now Warren Wells will come in. Sherman will come out. Speaking of fine quarterbacking, Darryl LaMonica, Lenny Dawson, Joe Namath was selected Player of the Year by the coaches of the American Football League, and for that honor, Joe has been awarded a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda Grand Coupe. And our congratulations to Joe Namath, who a year ago was defeating Oakland in the American Football League Championship, and then 1 week later defeated Baltimore in the Super Bowl. LaMonica on 2nd down 10, dropping straight back, looking for a little swing pass to Charlie Smith on the screen to the left. Smith is across the 30, across the 35, and out near the 40-yard line, shy of the 1st down. It'll be 3rd down as they mark it at the 38. It'll be 3rd down and 4 to go.
Fine job on that play done by Jim Lynch, a linebacker of the Kansas City Chiefs. He didn't make the tackle, but he was out there slowing things down. In fact, they had about 3 or 4 blockers ahead of the ball carrier, and Lynch was out there all alone as the only defender. And, of course, in a position like that, you want to slow things down just as much as possible until you get help, until some of your teammates get over. And he did a fine job of tangling up some of the blockers and slowing it down until he could get some assistance.
Tight end Billy Cannon has come out. Warren Wells, the wide receiver, has replaced him. Wells is flanked right, and Politnikoff is split right. Going straight back is LaMonica on third down. Throws for Hewart Dixon over his head. The middle linebacker, Willie Lanier, was defending at the 47-yard line. And the Raiders are thwarted by the Kansas City defense. And so Mike Eyeshide will have to come back in. Have you noticed the punts? There have been many punts of 50 yards or more, and there have been a lot of punts in this ball game. 10:27 to go. We're still in the first half. It's 7-0 Oakland. Charlie Smith scored from 3 yards out. Willie Mitchell and Mike Garrett are standing inside their own 20. Eyeshide is inside his 25. Does the punting from the 28. High kick. Garrett goes back. Not a fair catch inside the 20. Steps inside Dan Connors and then is hit down as he gets to the 23. Ralph Oliver back there, and Dwayne Benson, what they call a headhunter, a man downfield under kickoffs and punts very fast, the initial tackler at the 23-yard line. Make that the 24-yard line. 1st and 10 for Kansas City. Now Lenny Dawson, who's completed only one pass, finds his team behind 7-0, will try to bring them back. Against a fine Oakland defense. Both teams good defensively. Otis Taylor goes wide to the right. There's an I formation set up behind Lenny Dawson on first down. Now they shift out of it with Holmes and Garrett the setbacks, and Otis Taylor to the right, and Frank Pitts is now split left. Long count. Ball is handed to Holmes, going around the right side across the 25. Tripped up on a fine play in the backfield by Nehemiah Wilson, who came up from a cornerback position to cut him down at the 24, and Holmes simply somersaulted through the air to the 27. 2nd down and 7.
And before the play started, Dan Connors, the linebacker of the Oakland Raiders, as Lenny Dawson was calling the play at the line of scrimmage, turned around and yelled at the officials that they were taking too much time, that Kansas City wasn't getting the play out quickly enough. Kansas City does have a problem that way occasionally because they shift into these multiple formations, and Lenny Dawson takes a bit more than the usual time in the huddle.
Dawson back to throw. Throws, has his man. Arbanis across the 30, across the 35. Should be good enough for the first down. Written down by George Atkinson. First down for Kansas City. And that's their second first down of the afternoon. Ball is on the 36-yard line of the Chiefs. 7 times in the last 8 games between these two teams, Oakland has won. The last game that Oakland lost in this Oakland Alameda Stadium was in 1966, and Kansas City was the winner. This is for the right to go on to the Super Bowl. 8.5 minutes to go. First half. Frank Pitts and Otis Taylor go out to the right. Arbanis, the tight end, is split to the left. Dawson calling signals. Garrett goes in motion to the left. Dawson hands the ball to Holmes, who's going to be hit behind the line of scrimmage. Fine defensive play by Big Ben Davidson, the defensive right end, and coming over to help him out a couple of the linebackers, Dan Connors and Gus Otto. A loss on the play. It'll be 2nd down 11 from the 35.
It would appear that Davidson is having one of his better days. I was quite impressed before when he went in after Len Dawson on a pass play and went all the way over a blocker to come down on the top of Dawson.
They call him Big Ben Davidson. Drafted by the Packers, later played with the Redskins, now with Oakland. 6'8", 280.
That's why they call him Big Ben.
Dawson on 2nd down and 11 from the 35, dropping straight back. As Holmes is the safety valve, throws to him under pursuit by Connors. Connors slows him up, throws him down, lost inside the 30-yard line. Back to the 28. Connors was like a bird dog, going in and then veering to his left with Bobby Holmes all the way. We pause 10 seconds for station identification.
WGY, Schenectady, New York.
With George Radaman, Jim Simpson in Oakland. The 2nd time in a row that Kansas City has suffered a loss on a play. It is now 3rd down and 18. The ball back on the 28-yard line. Big play called for here. Kansas City does screen, does draw, but they're putting everybody, Pitts and Garrett to the left, and Taylor to the right, and Dawson is simply dropping straight back, looking, has time, lofts it for Garrett, has a step on his man, cannot hold on to it. He was in front of Grayson, but it would have had to be a sensational diving catch with Grayson between himself and the ball to to get it. And Mike is talking to one of the officials. I don't know whether he's simply putting on his shoe or has a few comments about the fact that Grayson was that close to him. But Grayson was not holding on to him. It simply was just a little bit too far for Garrett to haul in. So it's 4th down and 18, and Gerald Wilson is in again to do the punting. Sherman and Atkinson dropping back inside their 30. Clock is running, 6:38 to go. First half, 7-0 Oakland. Wilson gets the kick away. Driving kick this time. Atkinson takes it at the 31, starts to his right. Now is back inside the 25, and now is going to be thrown down by Willie Mitchell, who slowed him up. It started at the 31. The tackle is made at the 22. A loss of 9 as Atkinson was looking for running room. And it's Oakland's football, 1st and 10 from their own 22. And time has been called on the field, so we say there's timeout. With the score, Oakland 7, Kansas City 0.
Hi, this is Gene Rayburn. Say, did you ever get the urge to give that radio of yours a good swift kick? I mean, some of the things going on in this world really turn you off, right? So you get rid of your frustrations by either turning it off in a huff or belting it halfway across the room. Of course, you always repent when the repair bills come in. But don't kick your radio. That's not nice. Just listen to this.
Learn how to crush your berries. That's the shot.
My hair curls up on the West Coast. It's amazing,
Will whoever left the St. Bernard in the parking lot, please go out and get him. He's burying my Volkswagen.
It's incredible.
I think it's a crying shame that they don't make any more Zeppelin.
Right in your kitchen.
Yippee.
Those are a few of NBC's lighter moments. Now, still want to kick your radio? I thought not.
Oakland out of the huddle with Bolitnikoff to the right on 1st down from the Raider 22-yard line. LaMonica dropping back short, throws to Billy Cannon as tight end across the 30, out to the 34-yard line, where we'll use one of those expressions. He was clotheslined. Down he went. Willie Lanier put out a big arm, and Cannon went down like a shot. But it's a 1st down at the 34-yard line of Oakland. 6 minutes left in the first half. Warren Wells caught a pass from Darryl LaMonica down to the 3. Charlie Smith scored from the 3. That's the only score of the game, and that came back. With 36 seconds to go in the first quarter. Ball is handed to Dixon, and there is Willie Lanier, the middle linebacker, coming right up the middle to throw him straight back. Check that. That was not Lanier. Instead, that was number 86, Buck Buchanan, the big right tackle. 6'7", 275, at his 7th year from Grambling. Ball is put down at the 37. It is 2nd and 11. And now Lanier goes out, and another back has been brought in. Culp goes out also.
It's unusual, taking out a linebacker and a defensive tackle and putting up 2 men for the 2 additional men in the defensive secondary. 3-man rush.
Goldie Sellers and Willie Mitchell. And now Oakland's got 2 men wide right, 2 men wide left. Dixon, the lone setback, gets the football and does not go very far. Out near the 40-yard line, the man at the bottom of the pile was Jerry Mays, being blocked there by Jim Harvey. But nevertheless, Mays stuck up an arm and got Dixon as he got out to the 38-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down from there, and long yardage about 6. And now Culp comes back in, so does Lanier, and out go Willie Mitchell and Goldie Sellers, the 2 defensive backs that went in.
And again, on that previous play, the Kansas City Chiefs had only 3 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers and 6 men in the defensive secondary.
Cannon left, Bolitnikoff right. On 3rd down, LaMonica back to throw to a safety valve. Dixon. Flag goes down. And Dixon goes down at the 37-yard line. Now the flag has been picked up and tucked away. And apparently an unintentional call. They were staring at LaMonica. Darrow was not roughed by Kansas City. The ball is brought back to the 39-yard line, and it is 4th down, and Mike Eyeshot is in to do some punting. Willie Mitchell and Mike Garrett come back inside the 25, now backing up inside the 20. Eyeshot backs up inside his own 25. Now stands right on it, gets the pass from center, and gets the boot away. Driving kick. Garrett comes up, watches it hit at the 30, picks it up at the 22, breaks away from one tackler, and down he goes in a heap at the 25. 3 or 4 Oakland men on top of him, including Jim Otto, the center, down quickly under the kick. Otto wears the number 00, 10-year veteran from Miami. In other words, he's been around for all 10 years of the American Football League, which this year winds up its existence as we have known it, becomes the American Conference of the National Football League next season. Ball is over the 25-yard line. 1st and 10. Otis Taylor to the right. I formation for Kansas City, shifting out of it now with Frank Pitts splitting out about 15 yards to the left. Dawson back in trouble. Ducks under the blitzing linebacker Oliver. Goes on the dead run to Taylor coming back, and Taylor catches the ball at the 40-yard line, 1st down, and a fine individual effort for Dawson to get away from Oliver, and a fine catch by Taylor at the 40-yard line, 1st down, Kansas City.
And Taylor on that play did the thing a deep receiver should do when he sees his quarterback in trouble. That is, head right back toward the quarterback. If he's being chased around back there, it's very difficult for a quarterback to find his receivers after he loses his original perspective. And so you tell your deep receivers, if you see me in trouble back there, turn around and come right back toward me. Taylor did it on that play, and as a result, they were able to complete the pass and get a 1st down.
Pitts and McVay are almost side by side, split 20 yards to the left. Dawson back to throw, throws to Holmes, the up man, and Holmes is knocked down. Ball is loose. As I said, it's an incomplete pass. Gus Otto, the linebacker, was there to hit Robert Holmes, and the ball squirted loose, but incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10. 2 minutes, 27 seconds to go to the half. Now a flag has been thrown, and they're indicating holding against Kansas City as Al Dotson comes in, and Carlin X goes out as the linebacker. So 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down. The ball is placed down on the Kansas City 45. 2:27 to go in the half. Kansas City would like to get on the scoreboard, and at the half, our special halftime presentation, The 5th Dimension, live to entertain you. I formation. There have been no interceptions. Dawson now 4 for 13, and now there's movement on the left side of the line. Quickly jumping in is number 83, Ben Davidson, and let's see whether or not Oakland jumped offside or whether or not, of course, Kansas City drew them offside. Consultation with Kansas City and Oakland, and it is Oakland that is moving back, so that's another 5 yards. And more importantly, it makes it 1st and 5 at midfield. Dawson, as we said, 4 for 13 for 36 yards. LaMonica 10 for 16, going with those short ones for 83 yards. There have been no interceptions. George Atkinson very nearly had an interception back in the 1st quarter. Now 1st down 5 from midfield. Dawson hands to the 2nd man 3, Robert Holmes, and he's got the 1st down, going straight ahead across the 45 down to the 43 of Oakland. The Chiefs looking to tie this up or at least get on the scoreboard before halftime. Remember, they have Jan Stenerud, who can kick them from far, far away. Dawson has his men huddling at the 50-yard line, breaks them from the huddle. Pitts goes out to the right, so does Otis Taylor. High formation with Holmes and Garrett behind him. 1st down now, McVay it is, and he comes in motion to the left as Dawson backpedals, has time, goes deep, intended for Taylor, who's back there, has the football, and steps out of bounds on the 1-yard line. Nehemiah Wilson was there. That's Frank Pitts, not Otis Taylor. Pitts at the 1-yard line. 1st down and goal to go for Kansas City with 1:53 to go. Dawson, not known for long passes, has thrown a couple of bombs today. Otis Taylor dropped one at the 12 back in the 1st quarter that might have been a touchdown. Pitts holds on to this one, steps out of bounds, forced out by Nehemiah Wilson at the 1. Now Wendell Hayes has come in alongside of Bobby Holmes, looking for power in that backfield. The ball is handed to Hayes, and Hayes scores. Each time a touchdown has been scored, it has been set up on a long pass to within the 5-yard line, and Charlie Smith scored from 3 yards out for Oakland. Wendell Hayes scores from 1 yard out, again on the first play after the long pass. for Kansas City.
And this is really an important score for Kansas City. Of course, any score is important, but the fact that they're able to get on the scoreboard, presumably if Stenerud makes this, able to tie the game up before halftime is extremely important if they can now hold the Oakland Raiders, because then they would go in at halftime all tied up, and it's a new ball game starting in the second half, and there's a whale of a difference between going in there tied up and being down by 7 points or down by 10 points, particularly when you have lost to this ball game 7 out of the last 8 times. So that'll give the Kansas City Chiefs a great lift going into the dressing room and starting the second half, assuming, of course, that they can hold the Oakland Raiders here with 1 minute and 50 seconds to go in the second quarter.
Stenerud's kick is good, and it is 7-7, and Kansas City has gone 75 yards in 6 plays.
Long pass from Dawson to Pitts was interesting, a little bit underthrown, actually. Pitts had his man beat, but one of those situations where Pitts came back for the ball, he knew where the ball is. Wilson was just trying to catch up with him, and consequently he didn't know where the ball was, but actually the ball was just a little bit underthrown.
That was a 42-yard pass play. Now Stenerud, the soccer-style kicker, kicks off for the first time today, taken in the end zone. And out of the end zone comes George Atkinson to the 20 and gets to about the 22. And that is all. George Daney makes the tackle across the way, along with Oakland's Carlton Oakes. The ball is put down at the 22-yard line. And now let's see how Darryl LaMonica plays this. He has a lot of time. He also has 3 timeouts left. 1:35 to go. Sends Biletnikoff to the right, Sherman to the left. From the 22, drops straight back, hands the ball to Dixon. Dixon does not go up the middle. It goes outside to the left and is bumped out of bounds by Emmett Thomas, the cornerback, on the right side. But they say his knee hit before going out of bounds, so the clock continues to run. The gain from the 22 to the 27. Out of the 2nd down and 5.
And the Chiefs now on defense once more are going with just 3 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers, which means they have 6 men back in the defensive secondary, who of course are also helped by the 2 linebackers. 8 men back there to knock the passes now.
Again, the same play, and again it is Hewitt Dixon that takes the ball out. First down now at the 34-yard line, and now Oakland, with 58 seconds, does decide to call timeout. Now they've got 2 more left. And they are on the 34-yard line, and Darryl LaMonica is coming over to talk to his 33-year-old coach, John Madden, who took over this year when Johnny Rauch moved on to Buffalo.
I'm sure they're discussing what to do with this particular defense that the Chiefs have come up with. That is the 3-man line and only 2 linebackers. The normal thing, of course, is to run on it because it's weak against the run.
Now Jim Lynch, the right side linebacker of Kansas City, was over talking to his coaching staff. Now they're ready to go again. LaMonica has Biletnikoff to the right, drops straight back, looks, throws, swing pass to Charlie Smith, who's across the 30, has a blocker in front of him, across the 40, and down to the 43-yard line he goes. And with George Blanda there, and the clock running at 46 seconds, 45 seconds, and Billy Cannon, the tight end, comes out. So again, we say that we have 3 wide receivers: Rod Sherman, Warren Wells, and Fred Biletnikoff. Charlie Smith and Rod Sherman go wide left. Fred Biletnikoff, Warren Wells, wide right. LaMonica dropping straight back, under a rush, hit from behind, and down he goes at the 35-yard line. Fine defensive play by Aaron Brown, who's been playing with a bad knee, and it's a loss from the 44 back to the 36.
That was a key play for the Kansas City Chiefs, too, because they moved the ball back about 8 yards or so, which means they have moved the Raiders farther away from the goal line, farther away from field goal range for George Blanda. They had been down around their own 45-yard line, where one more first down would have put George within range.
Dixon is carrying the ball to the left. Brown tries to grab him from behind, knocks him down, and the tackle is put on him by Bobby Bell, the linebacker. LaMonica looking back, both teams walking off the field, and there's the gun. That's the end of the first half, and we've got a tie score. Oakland 7, Kansas City 7. The 10th annual American Football League Championship, which at halftime finds us tied 7-7. In a moment, George Radaman will talk with Commissioner Pete Rozelle, but right now we pause 30 seconds for station identification.
This is WGY, Radio 81, Schenectady, New York.
Jim Simpson back in Oakland, California, 7-7 at halftime, and with George Radaman as Commissioner Pete Rozelle of the National Football League. George?
Commissioner, next year the two former leagues, the American League and the National League, will be officially merged, be playing as one league. Now, the divisional lineup for the American division has been set now for some time, what with Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore moving in with the current American League teams to form the American division. When will we have some news about the formation of the National Division, the breakdown of that into the different categories?
Well, soon, I hope, George. We're anxious to get on to developing the schedule, which will take some time involving the interconference games and all. And I would hope that within the next maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we would have that national conference set up so that we could go ahead and develop the schedule.
Commissioner, you get to see both leagues play. You have quite frequently in the last few years. It's mentioned sometimes that there is a difference in the type of play. Now, I'm not talking about the abilities of the two leagues, but occasionally you hear that the American League plays more wide-open football. Do you notice any difference in the type of play in the two different leagues?
I really don't. I think that the coaches all get quite a bit of film exchange, and they see something interesting while they copy it. There are no great secrets in football anymore. Obviously, there's organization and discipline of the squad and nuances that can be put in their offenses and defenses, but I personally don't see any major difference.
You'll be going down, I'm certain, to New Orleans for the Super Bowl game next week, which should be a great contest. Now, this will be the first time the Super Bowl will be in New Orleans. Are there any plans for the Super Bowl in future years with regard to a site?
Well, George, we've been handling that on a year-to-year basis, so we'll take the matter of next year's game up when we have our annual meeting out in Hawaii in mid-March. I just don't know. We balanced it out so that we had 2 games in AFL cities and 2 in NFL cities during this 4-year period. Now, whether we keep moving it or whether we put it in a permanent location is something we'll decide in March.
Commissioner, thank you very much for visiting with us. I see they're getting ready to start the second half down there, but we do appreciate your stopping by.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, Commissioner Rozelle and George Radaman, and we'll be back with the start of the second half in 1 minute.
This is Jim Harriet, NBC News. Got a minute? Listen.
Blossoms still cling to the vine. I'll taste your strawberry.
4, 3, 2. We have ignition.
This is your world. Hear it on NBC Radio.
Center Road kicks off. Sherman waits for it, but Atkinson cuts in front of him, takes it at the 5, at the 10, at the 15, straight up the middle, breaks loose at the 40, across the 45, on his feet, dragged down at the 45-yard line of Kansas City by Jimmy Marcellus. They'll spot the ball at the 44. There's always something like that can fire a team, and George Atkinson cut right in front of his teammate, Rod Sherman, as though he knew what he was going to do, and raced the ball straight up the middle. LaMonica hands off to Hewitt Dixon, trying to get outside the linebacker, Jim Lynch. Now cuts inside and is met by Aaron Brown and is thrown for a 5-yard loss. So the Chiefs don't go down. They come back to throw Hewitt Dixon for a 6-yard loss, but they say his forward motion was stopped at the 47. Where it'll be second down and 13. Now Dixon comes out, and for the first time today, Pete Banaszak comes in as another running back. got better than a 4-yard rushing average from the University of Miami. Bolitnikoff wide right. Sherman set in the slot right. Cannon, the tight end, split 10 yards to the left. 7-7 the score. LaMonica going back under a rush. Fires intended for Sherman. Has the ball inside the 35-yard line. Out of bounds at the 35 and close to a first down. Run out by Emmett Thomas, the cornerback on that side. They're going to call the change all the way from the other side of the field to see whether or not it is a first down.
A perfect pass by LaMonica that time because Rod Sherman was pretty well covered by Emmett Thomas of the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, I'd say he was very well covered, and LaMonica had to throw the ball perfectly to complete it, but he did just that. We mentioned that Pete Banasak has gone into the ball game for the first time as a running back with the Oakland Raiders. This will give them a bit more speed in the backfield, perhaps the ability to run wide a little bit better than they were able to in the earlier stages of the ball game. On the other hand, they will lose a bit of power in the change here because Banasak is not too big as a running back, only 5'11", 200 pounds.
It is not a first down. The nose of the football is on the 35. And remember that they had just gotten across the 45 to almost the 44. So they've got to go about the length of the football to pick up the first down. It is third down and about a foot. Sherman goes to the left. Bolitnikoff right. LaMonica hands to Charlie Smith. Smith's got the first down and breaks down to the 31-yard line of Kansas City, going across his left side, the same side over which he went for the touchdown from 3 yards out. Willie Lanier, the middle linebacker, made the stop at the 31. First and 10 for the Raiders. 7-7 the score. Long passes set up both scores by Charlie Smith from 3 yards out for Oakland in the first quarter, by Wendell Hayes from a yard out with less than 2 minutes to go in the half. Bolitnikoff right, Sherman to the left. LaMonica on a long count now from the 31-yard line. On first down, hands the ball to Smith again across the left side and down near the 25-yard line. Yards, they're operating on the right side defensively of Kansas City.
That's the way Darryl LaMonica started the ball game. 2 off-tackle plays going to the left, and then the third play was practically the same, except on the third play they ran just a little wider, went out around the end. So they come back and start the second half with basically the same idea they had going into the game, that the weaker part of the Kansas City defensive line and perhaps linebackers as far as the running attack is concerned is on the right-hand side. Therefore, Oakland should concentrate on running to the left.
Remember, of course, Aaron Brown on the right side over there has been having knee problems and was not expected to start. Flags go down. LaMonica back to throw. Underthrows his man. It's Charlie Smith inside the 20-yard line. LaMonica was also under pretty good pressure from Buck Buchanan. And the Oakland Raiders are walking back. The referee today is Jack Vest, and he's looking for Jerry Mays to talk with him, telling him, first of all, it's a loss of a down and an incompleted pass if they don't take the penalty. Now he'll tell them what the penalty is.
Of course, there's also the extra consideration. If you move them back 5 yards or 15 yards, whatever the penalty would be, you keep moving them back farther away from the goalpost, farther out of field goal range. So this is an additional consideration you have in deciding whether to take the penalty or to take the down.
They have moved them back to the 31-yard line. A back or a lineman was in motion. So it is second down and 10 to go. From the 31, 12 minutes, 39 seconds to go, third quarter. The shadows are beginning to creak in over the Oakland Alameda Stadium. Cannon to the left, Bolitnikoff and Rod Sherman to the right. LaMonica dropping back to his 41 to throw. Goes deep for Bolitnikoff and underthrows in the ball, bounding inside the 20-yard line. Also back upfield and a shorter pass pattern was Rod Sherman.
Sherman fell down and he was making his cut to the outside. I think he perhaps was the man that LaMonica was thinking of when he threw the ball out there, but Sherman never did get close to it because as he went to make his cut, as he went to break toward the outside, toward the sideline, he fell down, completely lost his footing.
Third down and 10 in this tie ball game. Earlier today, Minnesota took Cleveland. The Vikings are already in the Super Bowl. A sentimental touch, as we said several hours ago when we first came on about this American Football League championship game. This is it. This is the last one. Next year, it'll all be part of the National Football League. Cannon to the left. Sherman and Bolitnikoff both split and flanked wide right. LaMonica back on third down, under pressure. Hit as he throws, underthrown to Rod Sherman at the 20-yard line under tremendous pressure from Aaron Brown, and LaMonica is on one elbow, now getting to his feet. The ball is on the 31, and George Blanda comes in. He has tried a field goal. The only field goal attempt in this ball game was by Blanda from 52 yards away. This one will be much shorter from the 38-yard line. Blanda will try, with LaMonica holding, to put the Raiders in front once more. It's tied 7-7. The snap of the ball, low, but Blanda gets the kick away, and it is off to the side. The snap of the ball was low. Timeout, and the score remains Oakland 7, Kansas City 7.
And this, of course, is that sage of the airwaves, H. Morgan, reminding you that monitors should be heard and not seen weekends on NBC Radio.
12 minutes, 26 seconds to go. Third quarter tie, ball game 7-7. Kansas City with the ball, first and 10 on its own 20. And as Commissioner Pete Rozelle came into the booth, and before he talked to George Rodham, he said of this ball game, probably no teams in all of professional football know each other better than these two teams. That's why it's such a rugged defensive battle. They know what's going on. They're trying surprises, but thus far they haven't worked. Dawson calling signals, Pitts wide left. Dawson hands to Mike Garrett. Garrett across the 25, across the 30-yard line. Loses the football, and Oakland has recovered. Getting up is the man who picked it up, Tom Keating, but he was blown dead at the 33-yard line. Garrett is saying, I have been down for some time. The whistle didn't blow. But the officials say it had. Keating makes the recovery at the 33, and that, George, to my recollection, is the first big break of the game.
That it is, and Mike Garrett, as he walks off the field, is shaking his arms, had a few choice things to say to the official, because he definitely felt that this was a slow whistle, that he was down before he fumbled the ball.
Now from the 33, Politnikov and Rod Sherman are sent to the left. Charlie Smith is flanked right. Now Billy Cannon comes over to get to the right side, with Smith flanked outside of him. Banaszak, the lone setback. LaMonica calling signals, dropping straight back. Under pressure, goes deep for Charlie Smith. Smith does not have it. Cutting in front of him at the last moment was a Kansas City defender who is slow getting up and may be hurt along the sideline.
Johnny Robinson, I believe, who came over and hit an official on the sideline. One of the officials was standing there right on the sideline. Robinson went over the top of him. So Johnny is walking off the field, holding his midsection, now going directly into the dressing room.
Second down 10, play resumed from the 33 after the fumble of Mike Garrett and the pass in which Johnny Robinson was hurt. Willie Mitchell has come in. The play action pass, LaMonica going deep, has a man back there, and it is broken up. It was Larry Todd who was deep on the play. LaMonica simply buried his head. He thought he might have gotten to him, and LaMonica is now holding his right wrist as he comes off and is kneeling at the sidelines.
That time LaMonica sent Todd downfield and forced Jim Lynch, the linebacker of Kansas City, to cover him. And this is, of course, normally a mismatch when you can get one of your fast backs going downfield and you get him one-on-one with the linebacker. Usually your linebackers cannot move as quickly as your running backs. And that's what he had that time, a mismatch between Todd and Jim Lynch. Larry Todd and Jim Lynch.
George Blanda has only thrown 13 passes this year, 20 years in the league, is back and throwing. The defender had fallen down, Jim Lynch, and Blanda threw the ball about 10 yards past the wide open Larry Todd. Again, isolating Todd on Lynch, but Blanda, remember, has only thrown 13 passes all year, 42 years old, and with LaMonica at the sidelines, Blanda called on to fill in. It is now fourth down and 10, and Blanda will stay on in this time, undoubtedly use his toe instead of his throwing arm. With Rod Sherman instead of LaMonica to hold this time at the 40. Last time they had a low pass from center, and the kick was off to the right. Two big injuries here. The kick is up. The kick is off to the right again. No good. Kansas City takes over. Well, This is something. There's timeout. The score is still Kansas City 7, Oakland 7.
This is Chet Huntley. These days, we sit in our living rooms or travel in our cars and listen to the news. Most of it is disheartening. The Paris peace talks drag on, campus unrest is very much in evidence, and we're destroying our natural resources at an alarming rate. But the good news is there, too. The success of the Apollo space flights give us all a lift. Medical breakthroughs are in the news constantly. Heads of state are shown shaking hands on the front pages of newspapers every day, and that is encouraging. But how do we assimilate it all? And what significance should there be for you and me in these developments? In an attempt, and one may only attempt, to look at what it all really means, I hope you'll join me for Perspective on the News, daily on this NBC radio station.
Along with George Radaman, Jim Simpson back in Oakland, California. It is 7-7, but what a turnabout. Johnny Robinson, the safety of Kansas City hurt, left the field on the next play. Darryl LaMonica, who had thrown 34 touchdown passes this year, was hurt. His right wrist, he went out, and Blanda is warming up. But the ball belongs to Kansas City on its own 20, 1st and 10. Dawson calling signals. Each team has suffered a big injury. Probably the bigger, of course, with LaMonica, the fine quarterback of Oakland. Handoff in the backfield of Kansas City and dragged down behind the line of scrimmage is Mike Garrett. Tackles made by Carlton Oates. A loss on the play of 3 to 2nd down and 13 from the 17-yard line. Well, we're kind of sitting here and rather stunned at the moment at the two key injuries to both teams. A defensive man for Kansas City and the quarterback of Oakland. 7-7, 10:55 to go, third quarter. LaMonica has two men flanked to the right, or rather Dawson does, hands to Garrett again, and he just does get back to the 19. A gain of 2, it'll be 3rd down 11. Oakland's defense rising up to meet him. Gus Otto, a linebacker, made the tackle along with number 77, Ike Lassiter, the left side linebacker. 6'5", 270. 3rd and 11.
And we're told from the Oakland branch that the injury to Darryl LaMonica is to his right hand. Now, earlier in the year, as this season started, he had an injured hand. He seemed to have gotten over that about midway through the season, but now we're told that he perhaps has re-injured that right hand again.
Garrett in motion to the left. Dawson going back to throw on 3rd down 11. Gets the ball away, overshoots one man, almost intercepted. He had Otis Taylor at the 39-yard line. The ball flew over his head, and Dave Grayson made a dive for it at the 49, but it's incomplete. And now, 4th down 11. Gerald Wilson will have to kick the ball away to Oakland, but it'll be George Blanda who must come in. LaMonica is huddled down in front of us, holding on to his right hand. Well, Oakland will try to pull this out before they think of the Super Bowl, but you can't help but think ahead. Right now, they've got to think of Kansas City. This ball game is not won by anybody. It's 7-7. Here's Gerald Wilson, and this time he gets away the shortest kick of the day. Bounding at the 50, bounding back to the 47. And the ball went barely 30 yards from the line of scrimmage and then bounced back. So it's about 27 yards net. And from the 47, it is 1st and 10 Oakland, and 42-year-old George Blanda moves into quarterback Oakland.
And the fact that Blanda is now the Oakland quarterback will not change the type of offense that they are running one bit, because he can throw the ball well, has confidence in his own throwing ability. Only one change I perhaps would mention that we might look for, he has a tendency to repeat plays, that is to call either all passing plays or all running plays.
Blanda's pass is off the hand of Rod Sherman, who was cutting in front of Emmett Thomas, the cornerback, and Thomas had fallen down at the 30. But Blanda led Sherman a little bit too much. Charlie Smith now trotting over to Blanda, walking into the backfield as Larry Todd comes out. They are still working on Darryl LaMonica, who is simply down along the sidelines with a big cloak around him, temperature in the 50s, but rather a chilly 50 degrees. Litnikoff comes to the right, Sherman to the left on 2nd down and 10 from the 48. Blanda going back under a big rush. Throws a little screen pass to Vanazak. Vanazak's back to midfield, falls down, tripped up on a fine play by Jim Kearney, a safety man who had come up to meet the screen. Vanazak gets to the 46-yard line, a gain of about a yard. It'll be 3rd down and 9. With 9:15 to go, third quarter, 7-7 the score, all of the scoring in the first half.
And George Blanda would like to move in another 10 yards or so to put him within field goal range. The ball is now on the 47-yard line, which would mean he would have to kick from his own 47, and this is a bit out of range normally for Blanda.
Blanda's missed from the 38 and 40 twice within the last couple of minutes. Blanda back to throw, big rush, throws, has Smith out there at the 35-yard line. Dragged down by Lynch, but he's got a first down at the 24, fumbling as he went out of bounds. Charlie Smith has had quite a day for the Oakland Raiders. Called on the run a lot at the beginning of the first and second halves that has been used as a pass receiver.
Well, we really have an unusual situation, too, as far as the coach sending in plays or giving advice to the quarterback, because the quarterback is 9 years older than the coach and has been around professional football and all phases of football for a lot longer time than the coach.
Bolitnikoff and Wells both to the right now. Blanda back. Blanda throwing. His man has fallen down, so Thomas intercepts in the end zone. Tries to bring it out. Gets away from Warren Wells. Runs into the linebacker Lanier. There's a missed tackle. He goes down on the 5. The receiver, Warren Wells, fell down, and Emmett Thomas looked up, and there was the football. He ran it out. They marked it at the 6. It's 1st and 10 for Kansas City.
And that's what happens occasionally when you throw the ball before the receiver makes his break. Just earlier, Blanda completed a pass doing just that. This time it backfired on him.
There's timeout. The score still Kansas City 7, Oakland 7.
Hey, put a little fun in your life. Try me, Bill Cullen. I'm liable to take you on a personally conducted tour of some of the great new vacation spots, or maybe we'll get a new angle on photography, or spend some time stargazing, or if you prefer, astrologizing. Astrologizing? Well, then put a little zing in your kitchen with our friend from down under, Graham Kerr, the Galloping Gourmet. I mean, where else could you learn how to make scallopini Don Quixote or grilled long-reach oxtail yet? And put a little sense in your life with Chet Huntley, who delves into some plain talk about the state of the union and the universe. Russ Ward, who covers the Daily News beat, or Bill Ryan and Sandra Van Oker with sidelights and background on the news. Everything from battles to the Beatles, from hippies to Hanoi. Yes, sir, put a little emphasis in your life. Try NBC Radio.
Kansas City has the football on its own 6-yard line. They send Pitts and Taylor wide right. Calling for quiet is Len Dawson simply standing there. The Oakland defense is shifting now, and now from the I formation. In motion goes Robert Holmes. Dawson in his own end zone to throw. Throws deep. Down intended for Pitts at the 34-yard line. No good. He went down and turned out. Nehemiah Wilson was guarding against him. It'll be 2nd down, and as they come back to the huddle, George Rademan is an old quarterback. You watch LaMonica's actions. What do you think about the injury?
Well, we mentioned earlier in the year he had, I believe, a hairline fracture of the upper part of his thumb, up above the thumb perhaps. We noticed that's what he's been holding down there on the sidelines, but he has been throwing behind the Oakland bench, and so I'm certain the next time the Oakland Raiders go on offense, LaMonica will go back in and they'll let him test that hand anyway.
I think I should have called you an ex-quarterback, George, instead of an old. Here is Dawson on 2nd down 10. Again, Gloucester Richardson in this time, hands to Holmes, who trips, almost knocked down in his own end zone. Tripped on his own, was on the 1-yard line and tackled. One man hit him, almost threw him in the end zone before Gus Otto came up to throw him at the 1. So now it is 3rd down and 13, but Dawson will almost be in the end zone as he gets the snap from center.
And Dawson was very slow walking back to the huddle, looking over toward the Kansas City bench as if he half expected Coach Hank Stram to send the punter in to kick the ball out of there on 3rd down. Sometimes they'll do that on 3rd down, figuring, well, if anything happens, if there's a bad pass or something such as that, you can throw the ball out of bounds. You still have 4th down to get it away.
One setback There are two slot backs. Dawson dropping back at the end of his own end zone, standing, going deep, intended for Taylor. Taylor does make a miraculous catch. First of all, they're shaking their heads no, and now say yes. Stram is there. Dawson pulls them out. The ball is at the 37-yard line. First down, Kansas City. Taylor was fumbling the ball and caught it behind two men. Remarkable catch, and George was also looking back into the sun.
Also a great pass by Dawson because, as you say, there were two defensive men over there. Frank Pitts, another receiver, was over in that area, so there were four men there, and Taylor really had to come down with the ball in a crowd, but it was imperative that Dawson throw it just perfectly, and that he did.
First down. Shifting now to that kind of a model tee, not a wishbone tee. First man is Holmes, and he goes straight up the middle with a pretty good hole across the 40-yard line. He busts to about the 42, a gain of 6. It'll be second down and 4. Tackle was made by Big Ben Davidson along with Gus Otto again. 7-7 the score with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. This is the 10th annual American Football League Championship. For the right to go on and play Minnesota next Sunday at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Pitts is to the left. Dawson dropping straight back to throw. Loops one for Holmes. Has him. Otto can't catch him. Holmes is across the 40 and inside the 35. Gus Otto dropping off, could not catch up to Bobby Holmes after Holmes took the looping pass over his head. Kansas City's got a first down at the 34 of Oakland.
And he was stopped all alone down there by Dave Grayson, who is only 5'10", 187 pounds. Robert Holmes is quite a load coming down that field when he has a head of steam as he did then, and that was quite a fine tackle by Grayson to come up and handle him all alone on that play. Robert Holmes, 220 pounds. Grayson only 187.
High formation. Wendell Hayes is in. He has scored a touchdown. This is well within Jan Stenerud's field goal kicking area. Mike Garrett picks up a couple of yards going across the right side. He was belted back by number 56, Ralph Oliver, a linebacker on that side. And at the bottom of the pile, just now getting up, Tom Keating and another linebacker, Dan Connors. Second down and 8. 5:40 to go, third quarter. Well, if LaMonica does come back, and he's throwing again on the sidelines just to make sure, and throwing better now than when he first started to throw, we sincerely hope that Johnny Robinson, the safety man of Kansas City, will be able to come back, but Johnny looked a little bit more severely injured. Again, the full house backfield. Again, Dawson back to throw, looking for Taylor. Nehemiah Wilson is going to be charged with interference at the 6-yard line. The official first pointed upfield. Now Ralph Oliver saying, what did you do? You said it was interference against Taylor. Now you're saying against Nehemiah Wilson. They've spotted the ball at the 7. Big break for Kansas City. And Mike Garrett fumbled earlier in this quarter. It was a big break for Oakland. They could not convert. Let's see what the Chiefs do. From the 7, first and goal to go.
Great bit of faking by Dawson on the play. That was a play-action pass where they fake the running play before he goes back to pass. Lenny Dawson does that as well as any quarterback in professional football, and the Kansas City Chiefs run a lot of those play-action plays.
Wendell Hayes is in, Mike Garrett, and Robert Holmes. They're all lined up in the I behind Dawson, who now calls for time so he can have his men hear the signals. Nehemiah Wilson and Otis Taylor were along the sidelines in the same spot where Warren Wells caught a pass to set up the Oakland touchdown, and the same spot where Frank Pitts caught a pass to set up the Kansas City touchdown. This time, they said it was interference. The crowd, obviously, being all Oakland, didn't think so. High formation again. First down from the 7. Now, Pitts goes wide right. Ball is handed to Holmes at the 5, and down to the 4-yard line goes Robert Holmes. Submarine down there by Ike Lassiter, number 77, along with Dan Connors. Second and goal to go from the 4-yard line. 5 minutes left, third quarter. Frank Pitts goes out. Otis Taylor comes back in. Taylor, for a wide receiver, is a big one, 6'3", listed at 215. Second down, Taylor comes to the left. High formation. Wendell Hayes and Robert Holmes behind each other, and Dawson says to the officials, "I cannot be heard." And again, they've called time. Dawson walks back.
Kansas City Chiefs playing with 2 tight ends down here, so they have all the blocking possible that they can get into the lineup. The only flanker on these plays is Otis Taylor. They have Fred Arbanis, who is tight end on the right-hand side, Morris Stroud, who's the tight end on the left. That gives them 7 blockers up front instead of the normal 6.
Taylor again, wide left, same high formation. Now they split the backfield. Holmes to the right, Hayes to the left. Ball is handed to Holmes. Holmes is caught behind the line of scrimmage. Down he goes. Then Davidson, the cornerback Willie Brown, all coming up to make the stop. Carlton Oakes thrown back at the 7-yard line. Well, they've marked it on this side of the 5, but it's third down and goal to go.
And I think it's almost a certainty now that Lenny Dawson will throw the ball. It's right on the 5-yard line. He's only got 1 down to get it into the end zone, because on 4th down you have to go for the field goal. You have to kick it if you don't make the touchdown. So he's got 1 down to make the 5 yards. It's awful tough to run it in from here. I think he almost has to pass.
7-7 the score. Third down, goal to go with the ball just on the Kansas City side of the 5. Dawson hands the ball to Holmes, who's sweeping wide. Holmes will score! Well, apparently the Oakland defense thought the same thing you did, George.
I've been amazed at several of these touchdowns, how easily they came on that particular play. I mean, now Robert Holmes had nobody too close to him as he went into the end zone. The Oakland Raiders on their first touchdown ran in fairly easy on the first play from short yardage. But it's amazing that they will fight each other all the way down the field, and then on the very last play when they score, sometimes it comes very easily.
Jan Stenerud is in, Dawson to hold for the extra point. Kansas City, as Stenerud kicks, now leads by a touchdown in their effort to go on to the Super Bowl. And remember, Oakland has beaten them 7 times in the last 8 games, but right now the Chiefs have the upper hand.
And I think we have to give great credit for that drive to Lenny Dawson, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, because if you'll remember, they had been backed up on their own 1-yard line, in fact, probably closer than that on the 1-foot line. It was third down, and I remarked that Dawson was looking over to the bench, almost wondering whether they would send in the punter and kick the ball from there. But he went back into the end zone on third down, threw a pass, the down-and-out pattern, way over to the far side of the field. That one was complete. And then later on, a key play, the one he threw to Taylor down around the 2-yard line. But both of these had to be perfect passes, and they were. And so I think Lenny Dawson was really the key factor in that drive. We notice now that Johnny Robinson, the safety man of the Chiefs, has come back out to the field, out of the dressing room.
94 yards in 9 plays. But remember, they were backed up to the 1-yard line. But the original line of scrimmage was the 4-yard line. Or rather the 6, and it's 94 yards in 9 plays. Rod Sherman, George Atkinson are deep, 14-7 the score. Oakland trails Kansas City. Jan Stenerud, the soccer-style kicker, back to kick it off. A lot of time left, 3:43, third quarter. High kick. Atkinson, who had a fine kickoff return, has it across the 10, sweeps outside, gets away from Curtis McClinton, and not much more, or not many more people. 3 more hit him after he got by McClinton. Buddy Mitchell, George Daney, and Goldie Sellers. Ball will be spotted at the 22. Darryl LaMonica is in. And we'll see how LaMonica's arm and hand, more specifically, stand up after that injury, moments after Johnny Robinson, the safety man of Kansas City, was injured. As George said, Robinson is now back.
He's not
in the ball game. LaMonica hands to Banaszak. Banaszak going to the left side. steps across the 20 and gets out to the 26-yard line for pickup of about 4 on the play. It'll be 2nd and 6. Jim Lynch, the right side linebacker, made the tackle along with Jerry Mays, the defensive left end, who trailed on the play to help out on the tackle. 2:55 left, third quarter, 14-7, Kansas City. Bolitnikoff comes to the right. Billy Cannon, the tight end, splits himself about 10 yards to the left. Sherman sets in a slot right. Banaszak and Charlie Smith, the setbacks. On 2nd down, LaMonica drops straight back. Throws right past Charlie Smith. Smith was cutting in, and Billy Cannon went down and out, and the pass was somewhere in between. Did not look like a badly thrown pass on the part of injured LaMonica, but rather as though somebody wasn't running the route he expected.
I think it was obvious he expected Charlie Smith to break to the outside, or at least to turn to the outside as he was headed downfield. Instead of that, Charlie turned toward the inside, toward the middle of the field, and as a result, the pass went out into the flat with nobody near it.
Big play now for Oakland, trailing by 7. 3rd down and 7 if they are to keep the football. They need the first down. LaMonica dropping straight back, looking, throwing, and across the way, Billy Cannon is down. Jim Kearney is down with him. They're on top of one another. No flags. Obviously, they bumped into one another. That's the official ruling, and Cannon is not protesting too much. The crowd is more than Billy. 4th down and 7, and Mike Eyeshide will have to kick the ball away. Kansas City is yet to try a field goal. Oakland has tried 3 and failed on all 3 at 52, 40, and 38 yards. Eyeshide to kick to Willie Mitchell, 22, and Mike Garrett, 21. Gets the ball away, hangs it up. Garrett is over there and hit immediately inside the 45-yard line. Down very quickly. To make the tackle was Marv Hubbard, a reserve running back from Colgate. Any gain at all, George, and Jan Stenerud is back in business as a field goal kicker. He can really boot him long. Straight eye formation as Dawson brings him up to the line of scrimmage. Now shifting out of it. Ben Davidson almost jumped offside from the right side for Oakland. Ball is handed to Wendell Hayes, and Hayes gets inside the 50 down to the 38 on a fine play going over the right side. Trapping the charging Tom Keaty. A gain of 9 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 1 at the 48.
And at this point, we have to say Kansas City has more or less taken over this ball game. The momentum is theirs now. Oakland had it for the first quarter and a half, but only managed to get 7 points out of it. Kansas City more or less equalized things by halftime. They had to score 7-7, but now Kansas City has taken the ball game away from Oakland, at least temporarily.
Wendell Hayes called on again. He's got the first down inside the 45, down to the 44. And this is just what Dawson wants. He is moving them now well within Jan Stenerud's kicking leg range. Stenerud has started his scheme of more than the previous American Football League record. He set one with 16 in a row, started that scheme with one of about 54 yards. 1:02 left, third quarter. 14-7. Kansas City, and the Chiefs have the football. High formation again. Now it looks as though Oakland had jumped offside. Flags go down. Bobby Holmes takes the ball, sweeps the right side down to the 40-yard line. Whether or not there was movement in the Kansas City line or whether Oakland did jump offside, we'll wait and see. It is, well, umpire referee Jack Vest is simply putting the ball down. Now is marching back toward Kansas City, so obviously they were drawn offside. Takes the ball back near the 50-yard line. A legal procedure will be the call. Nope, they simply say offside, Kansas City.
And Kansas City has been using nothing but running plays here in the last series that they have had the ball. But now is the time when Dawson likes to come with one of those play-action passes. When he calls about 3 or 4 running plays in a row, suddenly he fakes the ball to one of his running backs and drops back to hit somebody deep down the field.
1st and 15. Otis Taylor is flanked to the left, and Gloucester Richardson split wide to the left. Dawson calling signals, hands the ball off to Bobby Holmes, who is thrown by the blitzing linebacker Dan Connors back to the 43-yard line. Connors was coming all the way. And on several plays this afternoon, George, I've gotten the impression that Connors is simply keying on Holmes. On the screen or on that play, he's been right with that fullback.
A lot of times the middle linebacker will do that. He will just key on the fullback, follow him wherever he goes on the field. Connors, we might say, has certainly been playing a tremendous ball game. He's been in on quite a few tackles this afternoon.
Second down and 21 as we're just 14 seconds from the end of the third quarter. Otis Taylor goes to the right this time, and Gloucester Richardson goes over with him. The backfield is split, not in an eye. Ball is handed to Holmes, going to the right side. Keating makes a fine tackle back at the 41. As time runs out in the third quarter, and Kansas City has been held and must kick the ball away. That's the end of the third quarter. The score, Kansas City 14, Oakland 7.
Hey, how about a little light reading? You know you should select your literature carefully. The books you pick may reveal personality quirks you weren't even aware you had. Another question. How good are you at separating fact from propaganda? Is there an acid test, or will the credibility gap remain as the constant price of a free press? Well, this is Joe Garagiola, and those were just random samples of topics that Bob Considine puts on the line each weekend on NBC's Monitor. They're sometimes serious, sometimes not, but they're all subjects that concern us. Life may have been a lot simpler in the good old days, but it certainly wasn't easy. On the other hand, today's living may be easier, but it's a heck of a lot more complicated. Bob Considine and Monitor try to uncomplicate it just a little each weekend. You try to join us.
We start now the fourth quarter. Jim Simpson with George Ratterman from Oakland. It is 14-7. Kansas City. Tom Keating, who tripped up Holmes in the backfield on a fine tackle, came off holding his right wrist. That is the very arm with which he tripped up the charging Bobby Holmes. And Holmes, as George has told you, when he gets up a full head of steam, is something to stop. Third down and 24. Kansas City, of course, gets an extra down in that they were charged with offsides. It is third down, not fourth down. Dawson hands to Warren McVeigh, sweeping the left side. McVeigh gets away from a couple of tacklers and gets across the 50 to the 47-yard line, where he is down there, not enough for the first down.
But he may be far enough for Jan Stenerud to take a crack at it. He would have to kick the ball about 54 yards. But here he comes on the field, Jan Stenerud, the place kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So he's going to try one, and he'll have to kick it about 54 yards.
George Atkinson fades back. This, of course, could be a big play should Stenerud, with that powerful leg of his, make it. This would be 55 yards. Dawson is holding on the 45 of Kansas City. He takes that step. He boots the ball. It is toward the end zone and knocked down, picked up by Atkinson on the 6-yard line. It did not go into the end zone. Atkinson had to make the play. He almost felt that if he did not jump up and knock the ball down, it might have gone over the crossbar. So he went up and knocked it down, but then had to play the football, and it's on the 6. And now Darryl LaMonica and Oakland have a long way to go.
It was that close, though. It was straight enough. Would have either hit the crossbar or gone under it, undoubtedly under it. Atkinson jumped up into the air, which really, looking back, he shouldn't have done now because it would have gone into the end zone. They would have had it out on the 20-yard line.
Darryl LaMonica handing to Charlie Smith, who gets out to the 7-yard line, running the left side of his own offensive line, which he's been doing most of the day, and picks up perhaps a yard. It'll be second down and 9. Aaron Brown was there to stack him up along with Jim Lynch. Well, time becomes a factor now. There's still a lot of time left. 13 and a half minutes to go. 14-7, Kansas City. Robert Holmes scored from 5 yards out after there was the big interference call against Nehemiah Wilson on Otis Taylor. Charlie Smith is wide to the left. 2 men are wide left, including Billy Cannon. 2 men are wide right, including Sherman and Fred Biletnikoff. Biletnikoff has almost been shut out today. LaMonica's pass is intercepted and then dropped. Bobby Bell is kneeling at the 15-yard line. LaMonica threw into an area where there was no Oakland receiver that I could see, but about 6 red outfitted Kansas City Chiefs. Bell had it for a stride or two and dropped it.
And that would have been close to being the ball game right there, because Bell could have run the ball either into the end zone or down to about the 5-yard line where LaMonica was coming over to try to tackle him. Even if he had stopped him there, though, Kansas City was down to a point where they're certain to get either 7 points or a field goal, which would have put them a minimum of 10 points ahead with 13 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
Third down 9 from the 7-yard line. Big play. LaMonica dropping back in the end zone under pressure. Fires. Charlie Smith can't hold on to it, but there's a flag, and they're pointing at Willie Mitchell, saying he interfered on Rod Sherman, held him up. It'll be a holding or interference penalty, and Oakland is out of trouble for the moment. They still trail by 7, but this is going to bail them out. They're pointing right at Willie Mitchell. And remember, Mitchell is in the ball game because Johnny Robinson has been injured. They're still consulting. Now they're coming up 5 yards for defensive holding is what they will charge. Taking the ball out to the 12-yard line, but it is a first down.
And that was a case of not pass interference, not hitting the receiver when the ball was in the air, but of defensive holding. That is, holding up and actually grabbing the receiver as he went downfield, but before the ball was in the air.
LaMonica brings him out. LaMonica hands to Banaszak. Banaszak gets to the 15-yard line and not much more. Puts a shoulder down, but is sent backwards by Curly Culp and Buck Buchanan. Got the ball across the 15-yard line from the 12, so it's a gain of 4 to the 16, and it is second down and 6. 12 minutes, 40 seconds to go in the ball game. 14-7, Kansas City. Bolitnikoff and Wells to the left. Bolitnikoff has been shut out today. He's the bread and butter play, and they're taking it away from him. LaMonica back to throw. Throws, has his man, Sherman. Fine catch across the 30 to the 35-yard line between Lanier and Willie Mitchell. First down for Oakland. Here's where Kansas City is going to miss theirs. Fine 10-year veteran safety, Johnny Robinson. Mitchell guilty first of holding, and again this time, depending on the play, Sherman made the catch, but give credit to Darryl LaMonica. That ball was well thrown, right on the button. Here comes Bolitnikoff and Wells, both to the left. Sherman goes to the right. Again, Oakland has 3 wide receivers in there. On first down from a 35, LaMonica back, throws over the middle. Intended for Rod Sherman. No good. Mitchell again defending, and both again wound up on the ground. And there's some booing about the play of Kansas City there.
And since LaMonica was injured and then came back into the ball game, we notice he has thrown nothing but short passes. Now, it could be that Darryl LaMonica can throw well enough to throw the ball short, but his injured hand is injured too much for him to throw the ball deep. However, we don't know that, and Kansas City doesn't know that either, so they certainly have to look for the deep pass.
Same formation, Bolitnikoff and Wells to the left, Sherman to the right. LaMonica dropping back on second down, throws a little screen out here to Charlie Smith, gets a block on Brown across the 40, across the 45, across the 50, railed down by Jim Lynch as he hits to the 43-yard line of Kansas City. First down for Oakland, trailing the Chiefs by 7. Clock is running, 11:25 to go in the game. And remember, in the American Football League, although should Oakland score, it might be a little early to try it, there is the 2-point conversion play. Bolitnikoff and Wells again left, Sherman again right. Banaszak and Smith, the split backs in the backfield. LaMonica hands to Charlie Smith, blockers in front of him. Gets a block across the 40 and down to the 39-yard line with Jim Lynch making the tackle. Jim Harvey, the right guard, leading the way along with Gene Upshaw. The guards pulled on the play, going to the left. It's a gain of 4 from the 43 to the 39. It's second down and 6. All of the scoring has been at the goal to our left. That is the direction in which Oakland is now marching. This time Sherman comes to the left and Bolitnikoff and Wells go to the right. Second down play, LaMonica dropping straight back. Fires over the middle, almost intercepted by Lanier. In and out of his arms, intended for Rod Sherman. Lanier dropped back into the zone. Mitchell was taking Sherman all the way. And Lanier cut in front of Sherman and dropped the football. And that's the second time today, and within the last minute or two, that there's almost been an interception. Hewitt Dixon now comes in and talks with Darryl LaMonica. Pete Banaszak comes out. LaMonica 14 for 30. Dawson 7 for 17.
And again, LaMonica continues to throw nothing but short passes, which, quite frankly, is rather unusual for him because he likes to throw the deep pass, likes to go for the bomb, but he certainly hasn't done it since coming back into the ballgame after his injury. So
this is a big play. Wells started to the right, comes back to the left. It is third down and about 6. LaMonica back, looking for the first down. Has time, now throws. Intercepted and dragged down is Carney. Now he gets away from Sherman, still on his feet across the 25. Gets away from another tackler and is finally dragged down by Warren Wells and Charlie Smith. Wells didn't want to hit him too hard because he's got that shoulder separation. There's a flag back down at the 27-yard line. They're walking over to pick it up. But Oakland's offense is coming off, and Kansas City's offense is coming on the field. They're now walking back. Could be a clipping play against Kansas City in that Kearney, who made the interception, was waltzing all around, and people were turning first forward and backwards, and it could have been, that's what it is, it's a clip. Takes the ball back to the 14. We pause 10 seconds for station identification.
This is WGY, Radio 81, Schenectady, New York.
First down from the 14. LaMonica takes him out of the I formation, or rather Dawson does on first down. Hands to Wendell Hayes, can't get up the middle, goes to the outside. Grayson knocks him out of bounds, but not until he gets to the 26-yard line. Everybody was stacked up in the middle. Hayes saw it, went to the outside, and nobody was outside. Grayson had to come over from his safety position to knock him out of bounds. It's a first down and gives Kansas City some running room, and more importantly, to keep the football with 10 minutes and 5 seconds to go and out in front by 7.
And the Chief lined up that time again with 2 tight ends. Now, Otis Taylor, who is normally a wide receiver, is in the game, but that time he lined up as a tight end on one side. Fred Arvanis is a tight end on the other, which is an indication the Chiefs are somewhat inclined to play conservative football here to try to ground out some yardage, because even to tie, Oakland has to come back and at least get a touchdown.
Pitch to the left. Arbanos to the right. There's his mix-up in the backfield. It lost the football. Oakland's got it. Again, a busted play, and Oakland jumps on it.
Another blown play in the Kansas City backfield. 2 backs running into each other. Don't know which one was wrong. One of them obviously was, because they hit, and Lenny Dawson wanted to hand off to one of them. That's what caused the fumble. But if we mentioned earlier, the Chiefs have had several in the first half. This is the first one I recall in the second half. Mix-ups in their backfield.
From the 24 now, LaMonica, either Oates or Keating made the recovery. They were both there. LaMonica dropping very deep, firing into the middle, almost intercepted by Lanier, who drops it and is picked out of the air by Marsalis. Marsalis is back across the 30 to the 34. First down, Kansas City. LaMonica has been coming across the middle, George, and each time he does, he throws into a crowd. Almost intercepted twice, and now intercepted twice.
And until this half, we had, of course, no interceptions in the ball game. Lenny Dawson has not had one all day. George Blanda was in briefly when LaMonica was injured, and he suffered an interception down around the goal line, but now LaMonica's had 2 of them in a hurry here.
9 minutes, 10 seconds to go. Kansas City in front, 14-7 for the right to go to the Super Bowl and play Minnesota next Sunday in New Orleans. I formation, they run from it. Straight up the middle goes the running back on the play, Wendell Hayes, across the 35 to the 37-yard line. Tackle was made there by Dan Connors and Gus Otto. Hayes has scored a touchdown from 1 yard out that tied the game with less than 2 minutes to go in the first half. It'll be second down and 7. Play went from the 34 to the 37. Clock continues to run, and that may become the biggest thing that we'll talk about in the next couple of minutes. Quick pitch out of the eye to Robert Holmes, and Holmes, what a fine play. The football is loose. And Oakland has recovered. Holmes was knocked down, dropped the football, and it's picked up by Dan Connors.
Key man on that play was Nehemiah Wilson, who came up from his cornerback position, went underneath the blocker, and upset Robert Holmes. A beautiful tackle by Nehemiah Wilson.
Connors got the ball. It's on the 31.5-yard line. Lamonica is in on the draw play to Hewitt Dixon. Dixon is going to be thrown in the backfield, back to the 37 by Aaron Brown. Oakland is trying desperately to score, and on the last couple of offensive plays have looked a little shaky. Not the smooth, well-oiled machine that we remember in the opening moments of this ball game, when they had every confidence. Perhaps it is because Lamonica's hand really hurts, and there's the confidence that he cannot go deep, the wrong kind of confidence. Second down and 15, 7:35 to go. Litnikoff, who has not caught a pass all day, wide to the right. Wells to the left. Lamonica dropping straight back. Under a rush, throws the ball in the general direction of Hewitt Dixon, but about 10 yards short. And Lamonica is now picking himself up from his own 49-yard line. It is third down, 15. 7:27 to go. The momentum, even though Oakland has the football, George, apparently is with Kansas City. They're playing tough defense.
Kansas City has had 4 fumbles in this ball game, and on 3 of those times, Oakland has come up with the ball. So that's been costly to Kansas City. They have had no interceptions. Oakland has had 3 interceptions.
Billy Cannon has come out, and so now we have the 3 wide receivers in again, Wells, Sherman, and Bolitnikoff. Another big play, third down and 15. Lamonica dropping straight back, has some time, looks, fires for Wells, intercepted on the far side by Emmett Thomas. Thomas across the 40-yard line. Now out running a tackle. Down the sidelines. Lamonica's there. Steps inside of him. Dropped from behind by Bolitnikoff at the 18-yard line of Oakland. What a ball game and what a fourth quarter. Another interception. And obviously, Lamonica's injured right hand has been costly. But you cannot take anything away from the Kansas City Chiefs. Down as they were, outplayed as they were in the first quarter, they have come back to turn the momentum of this football game right around.
And the Kansas City Chiefs are now definitely in field goal range. Ball on the 18-yard line, whether they can get a touchdown or not. If they don't get pushed back, they are in field goal range. The worst thing that could happen to the Chiefs right now would be a 15-yard penalty.
6:50 to go. Taylor to the right. The ball is handed to Wendell Hayes, who runs into a man. After he picks up a yard, it's Big Ben Davidson. Down he goes. It'll be second down and 9 from the 17-yard line. Clock continues to run. Each of the teams hold it. Kansas City's only got 2 timeouts. The Raiders have 3. Ball on the 17, second and 9. 6.5 minutes to go. 14-7 Kansas City. And the Chiefs, as Emmett Thomas intercepted and raced down the left sidelines in good position. Frank Pitts goes to the left. Otis Taylor to the right. Dawson keeping it on the ground, hands to Mike Garrett, and Garrett may have gotten the yard, but he also came to the right side and got right in front of those big yawning goal posts. With Jan Stenerud on the far side beginning to flex his muscles again. Third down and 9.
And here comes an extra tight end into play, Morris Stroud, so that the Chiefs undoubtedly this time will run with 2 tight ends. Probably a running play and possibly going a little bit to the right to get it directly in front of the goalposts.
Well, the first Super Bowl ever played, Kansas City was in it, defeated by Green Bay. The second Super Bowl ever played, Oakland was in it, defeated by Green Bay. And now they're fighting it out to see who goes to play Minnesota next Sunday in the Super Bowl. The ball is handed to Warren McVay, is sweeping the left side, and McVay is going to be thrown along the left side, shy of the first down. They'll bring it into the hash marks, and could be a rather difficult angle for them, George, from the 15-yard line.
Ball will be kicked from the approximately the 22-yard line, and you get back that far, beyond the 20-yard line or so, the angle doesn't become too great. You can put it on the hash mark back there. It's a difficult angle if he had to kick from in around the 10 or the 12-yard line over on that angle. But back from the 22, this shouldn't present too much of a problem for Jan Stenerud.
Well, they're going to spot it at about the 23. Stenerud kicking from left to right. Pass from center is put down by Dawson. The kick is up. It is good. There's timeout with the score now. Kansas City 17, Oakland 7. Along with George Ratterman, Jim Simpson. Back in Oakland, California, 17-7, but there is a lot of time left. 4 minutes, 48 seconds. The question seems to be, can LaMonica get some zip on the ball after that hand injury? Or will they go with George Blandus? Stenerud kicks off. Rod Sherman comes up to the 9-yard line, takes it there, full gallop, gets to the 20. Now breaks to the inside and gets across the 25 into the 27-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 from there. George Daney made the tackle. LaMonica is coming back in. Now remember, if Oakland can score on any kind of drive, a field goal, and they've got Blando to try, could send this into overtime. But for the moment, the momentum and the 10-point lead belongs to Kansas City. And a possible trip to New Orleans. Billy Cannon was not on the play, now comes running in, was not even in the huddle, and takes his place on the right side. LaMonica directs him there. Now LaMonica drops straight back. Throws, has his back Smith open at the 30, but this time he simply dumped the pass in front of him. Not a well-thrown pass at all, and apparently that right hand is bothering him more than Darrell would care to admit or allow the Kansas City Chiefs to know.
So poorly thrown, and I really couldn't believe that he can't throw it any better than that. I think it might have been deflected in there by somebody, because that just didn't come close to anybody, and he was only trying to throw it about 15 yards downfield.
2nd down and 10. Bolitnikov going to the right. He's their bread and butter, and we'll repeat again, Marcellus has been on him all day, and Brett has not been able to catch a pass. LaMonica dropping back. Looking over the middle to Billy Cannon. Fine defensive play. Stepping up. That's too good. Kearney is called with interference. He stepped around, knocked the ball away. The ball bounded a couple of yards before the flag went down. So it's a 1st down at the 36-yard line. 4 minutes, 18 seconds to go. I would imagine, George, that through television or through radio, the Minnesota Vikings and company are watching or listening to this game.
I'm sure they're interested.
They played in 9-degree weather today and buried the Cleveland Browns. Now Smith and Cannon both to the left. 2 wide receivers to the right. LaMonica dropping straight back, and down he goes. A fine play by Aaron Brown, who forced it. Thrown at the 24, and LaMonica is getting up rather slowly. Aaron Brown forced the play. Jerry Mays is the man who threw him down. But Brown, who supposedly had a bad knee, did not look as though he had a bad knee on that one.
And if it should be Minnesota and Kansas City in the Super Bowl, as it looks as if it probably will be, these two teams have played just once. Not, of course, in regular season play, just one preseason game a couple of years ago. Kansas City won that one, but again, that was not this year. Minnesota has improved quite a bit since then, as has Kansas City. Kansas City won that one. I don't recall the score, but a rather close ball game.
Wells and Bolitnikov to the right. As LaMonica goes back, fakes to the right, now throws to the right. To Banaszak coming out of the backfield, and Lynch makes the tackle, and a hard tackle as is. To the 36-yard line goes Banaszak, but he's still got 10 yards to go for the 1st down.
And that was similar to the play we saw Kansas City use very early in the ball game. A screen set up on both sides, 2 screen passes set up so the quarterback could take his pick. Banaszak broke from the screen, saw LaMonica looking toward the other side, so he broke away from his screen, and when LaMonica turned back to him, he was already out ahead of his blockers.
LaMonica's thrown 34 touchdown passes this year, none today. 3rd down, 10 from the 36. Going back, looking, firing to Warren Wells, who does not make the catch. At ankle-top level at the 48-yard line, it'll be 4th down, and with 3 minutes and 5 seconds to go, Mike Eyeshide, the punter, is coming on with Oakland trailing by 10 points, and 4th down and 10.
Wells had to reach a bit for that ball. He has had a separated shoulder, and that could have hampered him a little bit as he tried to stretch out and go after that low pass. Eyeshide in there to kick. If they have a trick play where he can throw the ball or do anything, this is the time for him to call it, because it's a bad time to turn over the ball, being 10 points behind with only 3 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the ball game.
3:05 left. Eyeshide has dribbled the ball. Bad pass, but gets the kick away, and it bounds inside the 30 and gets a Oakland bounce inside the 20, inside the 15, down to the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7-yard line, and blown dead there. 1st and 10 for Kansas City, 2:52 to go. There's timeout for the score, Kansas City 17 and Oakland 7.
This is Peter Hackus, NBC News, reminding you to keep your dial set right where it is for all the news on the NBC Radio Network.
2 minutes, 52 seconds to go. Kansas City with the ball. It's been spotted at their own 8-yard line, not the 7, where it's 1st and 10, and all they have to do is use up that time as much as they can, and if need be, kick it away. Full house backfield now. Dawson hands off to his fullback in the play. And the fullback in that particular setup was Mike Garrett. He was the middleman of the 3. And Garrett carries the ball across to the 10-yard line, and it'll be 2nd down and 8. But the clock continues to run. Oakland knows they'll stop it at the 2-minute warning. But Oakland also knows it is down 10 points, and LaMonica, since the hand injury, has not been throwing well at all. But Kansas City started, or rather, Oakland started fast, but remember, has not scored at all since the 1st quarter. And LaMonica was not injured until late in the ball game. Ball is loose again. Scramble for it at the 12-yard line. Oakland has recovered on the 12. Getting up is Ike Lassiter. Dan Connors made one whale of a tackle, and Lassiter jumped on the loose football. They marked it at the 13, but with 2:08 to go, the ball game again is not yet over.
And once again, we feel as if we're saying this over and over, but another blown play in the Kansas City backfield. I've never seen a team in the championship game doing so well, winning by 10 points, and having so many mix-ups on offense.
This is the 2-minute warning, and LaMonica is coming over to talk to his coach, John Madden. They need 10 points to score, but now there's timeout with the score. Kansas City 17, Oakland 7. Well, we will wait with you. 2 minutes of playing time, and we'll know who goes to the Super Bowl. Right now, Kansas City leads by 10. Oakland's got the football at the 13. LaMonica is in. Sherman and Bolitnikoff to the right. LaMonica fades back to throw. LaMonica throws intended for Wells, but intercepted out of bounds by Emmett Thomas. It would have been another interception, but Thomas was out of bounds. Last time Oakland had the football, Thomas intercepted and went 62 yards to set up a field goal. Now Rod Sherman comes in and Wells comes out. 1:55 to go. 2nd down 10.
In professional football, after you catch a pass or intercept a pass, you must touch both feet in bounds. The rule applies not only to offensive receivers, but to defenders who may be intercepting a pass. That time Thomas did not touch both feet in bounds after he caught the ball.
Billy Cannon, the tight end, about 7 yards, 10 yards to the left. Bolitnikoff and Sherman are flanked and split to the right. LaMonica on 2nd down, dropping straight back, throwing across the middle for Sherman, off his hands at the goal line. Emmett Thomas was with him all the way and might have helped it along, but the ball was thrown a little high and went off the hands of Rod Sherman. 1:51 to go. 3rd down 10.
And if the Oakland Raiders do not make it here on 3rd down, I wouldn't be surprised to see them line up and kick a field goal, which would put them within 7 points. Then they would be kicking off. And, of course, I think they would go then for the onside kick. But rather than throw 2 passes into the end zone here, if the first is incomplete, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them kick the field goal, take 3 points, and then come back, try to recover an onside kick. Because one way or the other, they need a touchdown and a field goal. It doesn't make any difference in what order they come.
Sherman and Bolitnikoff right. LaMonica coming back. Cannon was split to the left. Fires into the end zone, and it is almost intercepted by Willie Mitchell, intended for Cannon. It is 4th down and 10 to go. And there's been double coverage on nearly every man, or apparently so, that LaMonica has been throwing to. He's been throwing into a crowd nearly every time, George. Blanda has not come on the field. LaMonica is standing there, head down, and apparently John Madden is going for broke. Get the touchdown now. 1 minute, 46 seconds to go. And perhaps, but who knows, the way the ball has been changing hands on interceptions and fumbles, perhaps the last opportunity Oakland will get to score in any fashion. 4th down, Blitnikoff right, Wells left. And LaMonica dropping straight back to throw. In a rush, Brown throws him at the 21, and Kansas City takes over. And again, Oakland has had the football deep in Kansas City territory on a fumble recovery and has not been able to score. The Chiefs take over after Oakland had a first down at the 13. The Chiefs take over at the 21. Oakland walking dejectedly off the field. They played a fine first quarter, but the momentum began to change toward the end of the first half, and it has been nearly all Kansas City since that time. 1.5 minutes to go. Cannon still just now walking off the field. Dawson, of course, is in no hurry at all to call these plays because the clock has been started. They can simply run 4 plays from where they are. Taylor goes wide to the left. 1:15 to go. Ball is handed to Curtis McClinton, who picks up 2 or 3 yards, no more than that. Clock is running, 1:09 to go. Raiders have 3 timeouts, and they have not taken one yet, and we've got less than a minute to go. Oakland apparently feels that 10 points might be too much. They're not calling timeout to stop the clock, and Kansas City standing back on the 15, slowly breaking out of the huddle. But time in the championship is slipping away from the Oakland Raiders, who were favored to take it today. Kansas City finished second to Oakland during the regular season. McClinton again. Beg your pardon, Wendell Hayes, not Curtis McClinton. Number 38, not number 32. And this is the last American Football League championship to be played as such. Next year it'll be the American Conference, and they'll welcome Baltimore, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh to it. Taylor again wide left. 32 seconds left as play starts on the snap. Mike Garrett with the ball over his own left side, gets out near the 30-yard line, still on his feet, and thrown down there. And it'll be a 3rd down play. Make that 4th down and about a yard. Oakland just realized it and set on their kick return team.
And that's the only time I can ever recall seeing Mike Garrett run with the football, holding it with both arms, with both hands, because the important thing, of course, is not the fumble, not how much yardage you can gain, but not the fumble. And a great cheer here from the Oakland fans goes up for the defensive unit, which is leaving the field undoubtedly for the last time this year.
Darrell Wilson is in to punt from his own 15. George Atkinson and Ron Sherman are deep. Kick is away and goes out of bounds on the 34-yard line, which stops the clock with 18 seconds to go. But Kansas City's defensive unit, Jim Lynch, is practically galloping onto the field, jumping up and down. He realizes that there may be a play or two, but that the American Football League championship is going to belong to Kansas City, and it's on to the Super Bowl against those big, rugged, and tough Minnesota Vikings. The ball is put down on the 34-yard line. Blitnikoff and Wells both come to the left. LaMonica still in, injured his hand in this half. Johnny Robinson, the safety, is out for Kansas City, injured. Ball is handed to Charlie Smith, and he's in a crowd, and Jim Lynch is over there to help out on the tackle, along with Curly Cope. 2 seconds, 1 second. The ball game is over. The championship game is over. The American Football League has closed the doors on its last regular season as such. And in the Super Bowl next week, Kansas City and Minnesota. That's the end of the game. The final score, Kansas City 17, Oakland 7. And we'll say that, first of all, we may be switching to the dressing room of Kansas City in a few moments, and we may have to cut off our remarks to go quickly there. But in the meantime, Warren Wells caught a pass at the 3-yard line in the first quarter that set up the score. Charlie Smith going over around his own left end from the 3-yard line to make it 7-0 Oakland in the first quarter. Then there was a long pass to Pitts by Kansas City down to the 1. And Hayes scored on the first play from the line of scrimmage from the 1 to make it 7-7 at the end of the half. Then, in the third quarter, there was interference called on Nehemiah Wilson, and a 5-yard run by Robert Holmes made it 14-7. Later, Thomas intercepted, returned the ball 62 yards, setting up a 23-yard field goal by Jan Stenerud, and the final score was 17-7. And with some closing comments, George Radaman.
And we're watching Lamar Hunt, the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, as he comes across the field. And perhaps it's somewhat fitting that the fellow who started the American Football League should be the only one to win 3 championships in the league, the one to win the last and final championship of the American Football League. But certainly a very happy fellow as he comes across the field, runs into some Kansas City Rooters who give him a hug. Some of the ladies give him a hug, and as he heads into the Kansas City dressing room. But he certainly has a team that he can be proud of, because the Kansas City Chiefs really came back today. The Oakland Raiders had it all their way the first quarter, the first half of the second quarter, but the Chiefs stayed with them, only gave up 7 points, and really took the game away from the Raiders at the end.
Well, thank you, George Radaman, for being with us. The American Football League season is over. It means that on now to the Super Bowl in Minnesota go the Kansas City Athletics. That'll be 1 week from today. Our statistician has been Bob Coffey, our NBC engineer, Dale Harry, and our NBC producer, Hal Ashby. Now, this is Jim Simpson with George Radaman in Oakland, California, saying the final score in winning the American Football League Championship, Kansas City 17, Oakland 7. This has been an NBC Radio Sports presentation.
This is the NBC Radio Network. WGY, Schenectady, New York. NBC Monitor News on the Hour, brought to you by Ford with 50 new models for 1970. Ford is the going thing. Here is William Littauer.
President Nixon's chief economic advisor predicts the administration's anti-inflation drive will bring some of the pains associated with a recession. Chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, Paul McCracken, cites the possibility of lower profits and higher unemployment. In an interview with U.S. News and World Report, McCracken expresses hope deceleration of the economy can be accomplished without a recession, that the rate of inflation will be slowed this year, and that the economic conditions will be such that the Federal Reserve Board can ease up soon on its tight money policy. The president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Jenkin Lloyd Jones, predicted on the ABC Issues and Answers program there will be a moderate rise in unemployment this year and business will be a little less good than last year. On the CBS program, Face the Nation, Democratic National Chairman Senator Fred Harris of Oklahoma warned his party will use inflation as a major campaign issue this year. Deputy Chief of the National Space Agency, George M. Lowe, disclosed budget limitations have forced cancellation of 1 moon landing mission and stretching of the remaining 7 missions into 1974. Vice President Agnew reassured Thai leaders today of America's commitment to honor its pledges to Thailand and Southeast Asia, and reportedly criticized congressional leaders who, in his words, are so anxious to make friends of our enemies, they even seem ready to make enemies of our friends. American military officials in Saigon report 50 communists and at least 7 Americans killed in fighting this weekend in northern South Vietnam. The fighting is described as the heaviest in that area in 2 months. An American GI newscaster relieved of his duties in Saigon for accusing the U.S. command of suppressing unfavorable news, charges he was subjected to 4 hours of interrogation attempts by high officers and was refused legal counsel. More in a moment.
If you were planning a new car or a second car, maybe you ought to look at Ford's new Maverick. You see, your Ford dealer is fighting the price rise, and Maverick is still $19.95. Of course, since dealer preparation charges, if any, transportation charges, and state and local taxes vary, they're not included, nor is extra equipment required by state laws. But Maverick is still the easy-to-own, easy-to-drive, simple machine that came out last April at $19.95. And it's still $19.95 at your Ford dealers.
The Kansas City Chiefs of the American Football League will meet the Minnesota Vikings of the National Football League in the Super Bowl in New Orleans next Sunday. The 2 teams won their league playoff games today. Minnesota beat Cleveland 27-7, and Kansas City downed Oakland 17-7. William Littauer, NBC News reporting.
Listen again on the hour when Ford, with 50 new models for 1970, brings you NBC Monitor News.